I welcome you in the quiet of this hour. The light grows soft. The day loosens its hold. I invite us both to settle. A gentle invitation rests in the air. Come closer to calm. I speak softly. The room breathes with low sounds. A blanket folds around the shoulders. A pillow takes the head. The world outside slows. Inside, a steady pulse reminds the body to ease. Let the shoulders drop. Let the jaw unclench. Let the limbs find rest. I ask only for a little attention. Hold the tune of your breathing. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Count each breath like a small bead. 1, 2, 3. The count is neither strict nor hurried. It simply keeps the rhythm for a tired heart. We listen to the pattern of breath as it guides us down. Tonight, the practice is simple. A small journal rests nearby. A pen waits with patient ink. The page will not judge. The page will keep what we give it. Please open the cover. Run fingers over the paper. Notice its texture. It is ready to receive thought and weight. If hands feel heavy, rest them on the blanket. If eyes feel leaden, blink slow. If the mind runs, return to the next breath. This is a place for gentle arrival. No task presses. No timeline demands. The moment invites a quiet conversation with the soul. We begin with gratitude. Note a long list. Just one small thing that shimmers today. A cup of warm liquid that warmed the cold morning. A short smile from a stranger. A kindness remembered. Write it down in a single line. The act of writing anchors the memory to the hands. It makes the heart lighter. Next, a short offering of what feels heavy. A single sentence will do. Name the weight. Give it a short title. Let the pen form the shape of the worry. Do not wrestle with it. Simply place it on the page, like a pebble in a bowl. The act of placing eases the strain. Then, beneath the worry, write a small hope, not a grand plan, a small trust, a désir for reste, a wish for clarity, a willingness to let go of perfection for the night. Keep the hope brief. Let it sit beside the pebble. Both can share the same page. I will read to you from the word before sleep. The words come as balm. They are not heavy argument. They come as quiet assurance. They remind us of mercy, of steady hands, of shelter in the storm. I will read slowly. I will pause often. The pace is measured like a lullaby. Before I read, I share a short meditation. Picture a wide sky after rain. The air smells clean. Leaves still hold tiny beads of water. A path stretches, not demanding rapid steps, only a gentle walk. In this image, a kind presence walks by your side. It is not imposing. It is near. It offers rest. Let that presence be real and close tonight. Turn the page again. Here we keep a place for a single question. Ask it in the quiet. What needed mercy today? Let the pen hold the answer, without argument. If the mind resists, breathe and wait. Often, a small memory will rise. Write it. Mercy finds its way through the thin cracks of weariness. Now, a short invitation to confession. In the most simple sense, give up the need to control the next breath. Hand over one small burden. This is not about lists or long examinations. It is one small thing chosen with care. Name it and write it as if placing a coin on a shore. The rest will be left for later. We close this small journaling with a short line of thanks for strength found, not the strength we created, the strength that came when the body surrendered, or when a friend simply stayed. Note that moment. Let it warm the page. As the pen rests, take a moment of silence. Let hands settle upon the journal. Hear a small tapping of the heart. Feel the softness of the bed beneath. The quiet is not empty. It is full of gentle presence. I will speak the scripture softly now. I will not recite complex doctrine. I will not engage in debate. The reading offers simple promises. The focus is on mercy, on rest, and on hope. The words are handholds. They help a weary person climb out of the night's anxiety. They are a blanket for the soul. Listen to the cadence of the sentences. Each line pauses to breathe. Each phrase invites stillness. The word does not come to burden. It comes to cradle and to steady. Trust the rhythm. Trust the softness. Let each sentence sink. Imagine it like water poured over dry soil. If the eyes close, that is welcome. If the fingers loosen on the pen, that is welcome too. The ear remains open even when the body falls into deeper rest. Rest is a kind of listening. The heart tunes itself to the promises and slowly unwinds. I invite a brief reflection on mercy. Picture mercy as a gentle door opening. The room inside is warm. Nu har lights glare. A seat waits. Mercy does not demand perfection at the threshold. It receives the tired, the confused, and the small. Imagine stepping across that threshold tonight and letting the door close softly behind. Next, a thought about strength. Strength sometimes comes as a long breath. Sometimes it is a small, steady step. It may arrive in the quiet of the morning or in the hush of midnight. Strength is often subtle. It appears after rest. It grows from quiet recovery. Let the journal hold one sign of strength you saw or felt today. A small act counts. A tiny victory is worthy of being written. The hope I offer is not a promise of immediate change. It is a promise that the process continues, like a slow tide. Hope returns with a steady rhythm. It brings new vistas. It makes the future less sharp and more gentle. Resting in hope allows the body to repair and the mind to reframe. Prepare now for the reading. Adjust the blanket. Arrange the pillow. A soft light may linger near the page. If light bothers, dim it further. The environment should invite slow breathing. Let the room be a shelter for the eyes and ears. I will read a selection that moves like a river. It speaks of quiet assurance, of gentle keeping, of a presence that tends to the small wounds. I will read in a way that holds space. The lines will come slowly. Pause will punctuate each sentence. There will be room to let the words rest on the chest. As the reading begins, allow one simple posture, openness, not restless searching. not anxious scanning. Simply open the hands and the heart like a cup to catch the rain. The words will fall into place. This posture makes listening easier. If sleep finds you mid-sentence, that rest is part of the healing. If attention lingers, that is fine too. The night accepts both. The aim is not to force awake comprehension. The aim is to carry gentle truth into the quiet. Before I start, breathe once more with awareness. In through the nose, hold for a count of 2. Exhale slowly through parted lips. Feel the shoulders loosen. Feel the jaw ease. Let the breath prepare the heart to receive. I will now begin the reading in a soft voice. Each line will move from assurance to mercy to hope. The cadence will be slow. The images will be simple. The heart will find its own meaning. My voice will be steady and calm. In this moment, it is safe to release the day. This opening time is for arrival. It is for the letting go of sharp edges. It is for the small practice of placing weight down and sitting in quiet trust. The journal holds the traces of the night. The reading will feed the slow restoration that follows. Soon the voice will carry the first passages. It will be measured and unhurried. It will guide the ear like a gentle current. Let go of the urge to hold everything together. Let the word hold parts of the burden. Allow the body to soften into sleep or into a deeper listening. Whichever comes, when the reading ends, there will be a short silence. In that silence, rest will settle further. If waking comes later in the night, the memory of these words will act as a soft landing. They will be there like a warm blanket or an anchored hand. For now, keep the journal by the bed. Tuck the pen beneath the cover. Trust that the small page will wait. The practice returns each night like a slow tide. Each time, a little more easing arrives. We begin this journey together. Each evening, we'll invite similar steps, a short breath, a single gratitude, a named burden, a small hope, and the soft reading of the word. The pattern is simple and steady. It is made for tired hearts. Rest now as the voice begins. The night receives us. The word watches over the closing eyes. Sleep finds the weary. Mercy meets the small needs. Strength grows in the quiet. Hope remains a steady promise. The reading starts now. I speak slowly and simply. Each sentence rests like a small stone. Each pause makes room to breathe. The night holds us, and the word keeps watch. I continue with a quiet cadence. The voice settles into a softer register. Each sentence is small. Each pause is long enough to breathe. I begin by speaking of rest. The passage I read offers rest to the tired. It asks nothing dramatic. It simply invites a slowing. Imagine a hand on the shoulder that does not press. Imagine a voice that names your weariness and then sets it down. Let that image rest in the chest. I guide the ear to a simple truth. There is mercy that finds the broken places. Mercy looks like warmth after a long cold. It looks like a towel on wet hair. It comes without judgment. It comes with gentle patience. Picture mercy as a light that does not glare. It fills the room softly. Allow the light to touch any place that still aches. I speak of keeping. The words speak of being held in the quiet. They do not promise sudden change. They promise presence. A steady presence walks beside the slow steps. That presence watches over the small trials. It notices minor victories. It notices the breath that finally eases. Let the thought of being watched over bring relief. There is a hand that steadies. There is a calm that returns. Bedwen Lins. We breathe together. In through the nose. Pause. Out through the mouth. Breathe like a tide. The rhythm becomes a companion. The breath carries the words deeper than the mind alone. Each exhale loses a sliver of worry. Each inhale brings a small return of warmth. I paraphrase a passage that imagines protection as a shelter. The shelter is not a fortress for the proud. It is a simple roof for the tired. It is a space where the body can stop pretending. Inside. Questions do not have to be answered tonight. Inside. Small needs are met with tenderness. Visualize a low door opening to a quiet room. The candle inside is modest. It casts enough light to see the next step. That is the kind of shelter the words promise. The reading moves to gentleness. Strength appears as quiet endurance. It grows from sleep and soft restoration more than from force. The image is of a day that unfolds slowly, like a leaf uncurling. Strength rests on rest. Let that settle. There is permission here to be small and to recover. I pause and give space. The silence is a part of the reading. It makes room for the words to sink. If the eyes close, let them close. If attention drifts, let it drift. The aim is restfulness, not perfection. A short paragraph speaks of mercy that covers mistakes. It is like a gentle tide that smooths pebbles. The tide does not erase a stone's shape. It simply makes the edge less sharp. Consider one small mistake from the day. Picture the tide coming and smoothing the corners. The act of imagining this softens the immediate sting. We listen to a passage about guidance. Guidance comes as a quiet nudge rather than a loud command. It often arrives through ordinary things, a friend's brief kindness, a helpful thought, a door that opens by chance. The guidance that I read about asks for a soft response. A small step will do. The path does not require sprinting. It asks for slow, steady walking. I ask for a single breath of confession, nothing heavy. A small surrender. Name one thing you cannot fix tonight. Offer it up into the quiet as if placing it on a small table. The name need not be elaborate. It can be one word. The act of letting it go is enough for now. After that small confession, the reading moves to assurance. The assurance is not a boast. It is a simple reminder that mercy is ongoing. It is like rain that comes again and again. The steady rhythm of mercy is comforting. It repeats in small ways until the heart recognizes it. I invite a slow image of rest as a garden at dusk. The garden smells of clean soil. Crickets begin a gentle rhythm. A single bench sits near a tree. On the bench, a cotton folds, waiting to be worn. Sit there in this imagination. Feel the air cool the face. Let the simple peace of dusk settle into the shoulders. The next lines speak of hope as a small lamp. It is not a floodlight that removes all shadows. It is a lamp enough to see the next small step. Hope holds the future gently. It will not rush resolution. It will steady the present. Let this lamp be enough to guide a tired foot. I read words that imagine tenderness as a steady hand. The hand does not hurry repair. It tends slowly and carefully. Picture that hand, mending a torn seam with quiet attention. The seam holds together again without being forced. That is the way tenderness works. It takes time. It takes patience. Shortly, I invite you to let the journal rest closed. The pen stays under the cover. The page holds what was placed there. Nothing has to be rewritten. The act of writing already did its work. Keep that small practice safe and simple. It will be waiting tomorrow. I speak now of night. As a teacher, night shows what the day hides. It reveals hunger, small fears, and quiet longings. Night also offers repair. It allows the soft tissue of the heart to knit. Do not fear the silence. Let it do its gentle work. A brief portion of the reading emphasizes kindness. Kindness begins in small gestures. A heldur. A soft word, a pause in judgment. The words I read celebrate these gestures without making them heroic. They are ordinary acts that build a life. Remember one small kindness you received today. Hold it as proof that goodness still moves through the world. The voice slows further. The words now fold around gentleness and rest. Sleep is welcomed as a friend. Sleep arrives with no blame. It simply takes a shoulder and eases it down. Imagine it sinking into a soft bed. Not fighting the downward motion, the body loosens in stages. Allow each joint to soften. I offer a short meditation on gratitude. Gratitude does not demand jubilation. It can be quiet and small. Name one small thing to be grateful for. It can be the taste of water, the feel of fabric, or a brief laugh. Keep it small and present. Let gratitude warm the chest like a small ember. Now, I remind that faith is often as simple as trust. Trust can be the choice to rest when rest is needed. It can be the decision to let the mind stop racing for a night. Trust can be a tiny act. Tonight, choose that small act. I pause, and the silence deepens. This silence carries the words like seeds. In the quiet, they fall and take hold in the heart. The reading has become a soft pattern of arrival. Naming and rest. Before closing, I speak a few sentences about community. This moment is shared. Even in solitude, it is shared with others who come to rest. The authenticity of that sharing matters. It is not a performance. It is a real pause that we offer each night. The honesty in this quiet space gives courage. The shared stillness comforts. If this practice brings ease, consider returning. A steady habit makes rest more likely. If you find value here, gently share the experience with others. Invite a friend to sit in the quiet. Tell someone that you were cared for in this way. If you find the voice helpful, consider subscribing. Leave a note if a particular passage touched you. Sharing helps build a small community of rest and mercy. The reading draws to a close in a deliberate, slow paragraph. The final lines gather mercy, keeping, and hope. They place each on a small shelf in the mind. They do not call for immediate action. They simply rest beside the breath. I end with a short blessing. It is quiet and simple. Receive it as an invitation to rest deeper. Let the blessing press gently against the forehead and then fade into the night. The room grows still. The breath continues its slow tide. The body gives over to rest. When the voice fades, leave the light low. Keep the journal close. Trust that these words will return in memory if the night wakes you. They will be like a small anchor. Sleep now into mercy. Sleep into rest. Sleep into hope. Good night. I sit very still. The lamp beside me breathes a soft light. The room leans toward silence. I keep my voice low. I keep my words small. Tonight I turn toward one short line from the psalm. It names God as refuge and strength. The line is simple. It holds a steady promise. I do not unpack doctrine. I hold the image like a small lantern. The lantern is enough for now. Listen with the body. Let the ears receive the phrase as a gentle fact. Imagine a shelter built, not of stone alone, but of care. Picture a place where the air itself presses gently against the skin. That pressure is not heavy. It is protective. It is a covering that keeps out the sharp wind for a while. Place a hand over the heart. Feel the warmth there. The pulse is a soft drum. I move my hand there too. The touch anchors the thought. The thought grows from the pulse. The psalm's promise becomes personal in that moment. Refuge is not an abstract idea. It is a closeness that steadies the heart. Refuge can be many things. For Shum, it looks like a hollow in a hill, shaded and quiet. For others, it is a harbor, water folding against the hull of a small boat. For a few, it appears as a steady pair of hands that do not flinch. Tonight, allow the image that draws up first. Let that image settle without argument. Strength follows in a different tone. It is not a loud shout. It is a steadying warmth. Imagine a beam under a tired floor. The beam does not announce itself. It simply bears weight. Strength in this sense makes room for rest. It does not demand constant labor. It supports the soft work of repairing and breathing. I guide the breath with a simple count. In through the nose for 4, hold for 2, out through the mouth for 6. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. Each out-breath loosens a small knot. Each in-breath brings a quiet steadiness. The rhythm makes the presence feel nearer. Think of the presence as a robe that wraps around the shoulders. The fabric is not tight. It conforms. It warms without pressing. The edge of the robe lifts a few stray worries and tucks them away. Those worries do not vanish in a dramatic sweep. They rest lower on the chest, so breathing becomes easier. If the mind names a fear, place it on a small tray in the imagination. Do not interrogate it. Do not analyze. Let it sit there like a peeled fruit. The presence of refuge lights the tray with a dim, safe glow. The glow is enough to see the fear for what it is. It begins to lose its power to make the chest quicken. I remind gently that strength and refuge operate together. One keeps the body steady. The other keeps the soul calm. Strength makes shelter practicate. Refuge makes protection tender. When both are present, movement can slow without panic. The hands can unclench. The jaw can ease. Listen for the quiet phrase again. Hear it not as a problem solver, but as company that does not demand performance, company that stays through the muffled hours. The presence is near, in ways that matter, in small, persistent gestures. It leans close in the moments between thought and sleep. A brief image helps. Imagine a small fire in a hearth. The fire is not fierce. It radiates gentle heat. Someone tends it with soft, deliberate motions. They do not speak. They merely add small bits of wood. The light spreads just enough to read the line of a simple book. The scene holds the sense of being watched over, without alarm. If hands rest against the blanket, notice the texture. Let the tactile sense ground the thought of refuge. The world beyond the bedroom can hum its loud concerns. The room you inhabit now has different rules. Here, stillness counts. Here, mercy arrives quietly and repeatedly. I ask for one small naming. Pick one small place in the body or in the day that feels exposed. Name it in a single word if possible. Say it silently. The act of naming brings the place into the circle of care. It is like placing a small flag on a map. The presence knows the map. The presence traces the flag with a careful finger. Think next of strength as a soft rope. It does not yank. It gives the chance to move step by step. If tonight the next step is simply to close the eyes, then that is enough. If the step is to breathe twice slower, then that is enough. Strength supports these small motions until they feel possible. I offer an image of a watchful harbor. Boats tied to a pier do not pretend to sail on stormy nights. They rest, bumping gently, and the ropes hold. The harbor does not promise perfect calm. It promises that the boats will not be swept away. That promise is a kind of strength. It allows sleep to come without the need to fix every tether. The psalm speaks of help in trouble. Help comes near in ways that are personal and practical. Sometimes help arrives as a remembered kindness. Sometimes it arrives as a plan that forms slowly in thought. Tonight, consider a single practical help that would ease one's small fear. Imagine it present now. Let the mind breathe around the possibility. I pause, letting the small silence do its work. Silence is not empty. It holds the words like seeds. In that quiet, the promise can settle into the chest. Each inhalation carries it deeper. Each exhalation spreads it wider. There is also a tenderness in being defended. Defense here is not combative. It is protective. It watches the fragile lines of the day and keeps them from being overloaded. Picture a gentle shield that does not isolate. It allows life to continue within it. It keeps the most delicate pieces safe. If worries surface again, Bring the breath back to the count. If the body resists, sleep. Allow the mind to gaze at a stable point. Imagine a distant star, steady and unblinking. The Psalm's promise is like that star constant. Though not loud, the star does not fight the darkness. It simply stands. I remind myself, and gently remind you, that this sanctuary of words is not meant to solve everything tonight. It is meant to steady one small part enough to rest. The work of the next day remains. For now, the presence does the light work of keeping you safe in the night. Lay the journal aside if it sits nearby. Let the pen rest. Writing has done its part for the evening. What remains is a simple reception. Receive the quiet like a small garment draped across the shoulders. Let the head sink into the pillow with no sharp resistance. Before I read the line aloud, I breathe once more, slow and full. The sound of my inhalation is a small invitation. The exhale loosens the edges of the day. I speak the meaning again in a whisper that travels through the space between us. The words are measured. They do not demand a response. Now I read the Psalm's line softly for you. I do not force emotion into it. I let the plainness of the phrase do the work. The meaning spreads like a cool hand on a fevered brow. The sentence repeats in the mind with calm rhythm. After the reading, allow the body to settle. Notice how the chest feels different. Even if only slightly. Notice if the shoulders soften. Notice if the forehead unclenches. Small changes count. They are the first notes of rest. If sleep comes, let it come without guilt. If wakefulness continues, keep the breath steady. The presence remains. The promise endures. There is no need to catalogue the night. Simply rest in the fact of being watched over and supported. I close this moment with a short blessing. Receive it as a gentle hand placed for a moment on the brow. May the refuge be real to the senses. May the strength be enough for the next small step. May the night hold repair and quiet. The lamp dims. The room holds a new hush. I lower my voice and let the silence take over. The presence keeps watch. The breath keeps rhythm. Rest into that steady care. I draw the circle of sound quietly around you. The room breathes with the slow rhythm we have kept. The hush rests like a soft shawl around the shoulders of thought. I speak in a tone that asks nothing more than listening. The presence that comes near is steady. It does not hurry. It moves around them as they prepare for rest. I speak of a simple truth. Now, Romans reminds us that every person is imperfect. We do not reach every ideal. We miss the mark in small ways and in large. The reminder is not meant to shame. It is meant to level the playing field. It tells us that imperfection is common. It frees us from harsh isolation. I read slowly, and I let the words land gently. The passage says that all have missed the standard. That sameness can be a relief. It brings company to the places that ache. If the mind tightens at the memory of a failure, breathe into that tightness. Give the thought room to soften. Forgiveness arrives as a simple action. It is not loud. It is not complex. It comes through a willing hand that reaches out and takes the small stone of guilt. Imagine the hand warm. Imagine it lifting a pebble from the palm The pebble is not rejected. It is examined with care, and then set down where it cannot keep you awake. I ask for one small naming. If there is a single weight that sits heavy tonight, speak its name, silently. Say it once. The naming does not demand explanation. It simply speaks what the chest is already keeping. Naming brings the thing into the light. Light has a way of changing scale. After the naming, picture a gentle stream near the place where you sit. The stream moves without hurry. It accepts many small tokens. Place the named weight on a leaf and set that leaf in the current. Watch it drift. The stream does not erase the stone. It changes how close it feels. Distance makes space for sleep. Forgiveness, in what I read, has a face. It meets the brokenness not by denying it. It meets it by offering tenderness. Think of a patch of fabric, mended with careful stitches. The seam remains, but it no longer rends. The mending does not pretend the tear never happened. It makes the garment wearable again. I hold the rhythm of the voice steady. Each phrase comes with a pause. The pauses give the heart time to answer. If tears come, let them come quietly. If a deep relief arrives, let the chest expand into it. The body knows how to receive mercy when it is offered in a gentle cadence. There is a soft instruction in what I read. It invites a small act, the act of placing guilt under the shelter of grace. Imagine a low roof that covers a tiny bench. Sit on that bench for a moment. Lay the burden beside you. Do not lift it again right away. Let the shelter do its work. I also speak of confession in the simplest sense, not a litany of faults, not a heavy catalogue, just one candle-lit word of truth. Speak it into the quiet. The confession is an offering. It is a small bridge from hiding to being known. Being known in this way does not lead to condemnation. It leads to repair. After that short confession, receive the assurance. The assurance is not a lecture. It is a promise of mercy that keeps returning. Mercy. As I read, rains gently and repeatedly. It returns more than once. The repetition quiets the mind that worries that one slip will end everything. It shows that patterns of grace are stable. I guide the breath with a small count. So the body meets the message. In through the nose for 4. Hold for 2. Out through the mouth for 6. The exhale stretches out the night. The long outward breath lets guilt loosen its grip. With each out-breath, imagine a fold in the heart, unclenching, to make the forgiveness tangible. I give an image of a cloak. The cloak is wide and woolen. It is not flawless. It has been mended in places, yet it warms. Wrap the cloak around the shoulders now in the imagination. Let the fabric press lightly against the places that have been raw. The cloak absorbs the chill without fuss. I remind gently that forgiveness does not mean instant forgetting. Memory will sometimes carry its marks. Forgiveness means that memory no longer rules the night. It moves those marks to a shelf where they no longer provoke constant alarm. The shelf is near enough to be remembered calmly and far enough to allow rest. If you wrote anything in the journal tonight about guilt, close that page with tenderness. Thank the page for keeping what you could not yet resolve. Imagine placing the closed book on the bench beneath the shelter. The book waits. Its weight is known and accepted. You do not have to carry it through the dream. I read now a line that brings comfort, the acknowledgement of shared human failing, and the promise of a covering response. I say it slowly. I let each word rest like a small stone on the river of thought. The line invites no debate. It simply offers a hand. Allow the hand to touch the shoulder. Even if only in imagination, the contact is brief and sure. It steadies the pulse. It says that you are not the one who must hold everything alone. Someone else can hold part of the load. Let the body receive that help as if it were a soft weight transferred into kinder hands. As the voice moves on, I describe the kind of peace that follows forgiveness. It is not a noisy peace. It comes as a lowering of the brow. It is a settling in the abdomen. It is the slow, even hum of the breath that can finally lengthen. Watch for these small signs. Each one is proof that mercy works in the body. Do not mistake this for an immediate fixing of all pain. Healing often begins with small changes. A shorter breath becomes a longer one. A clench loosens by a fraction. These tiny differences are the first movements toward restoration. They are the seeds that sleep will tend. I invite one more image before the night takes fuller hold. Picture the guilty place as a small garden after rain. The soil is soft. New shoots come up in unexpected corners. The gardener does not ignore the weeds. They pull them gently and set them aside. The gardener does not rush the growing. Growth happens in time, not in force. If doubts try to creep in, doubts that forgiveness is too easy or not thorough, let the doubts ride the same slow breath. Examine them without argument. They may have a voice, but it is not the only voice in the room. The voice of mercy has weight too. Let that voice sit beside the doubts and be heard. I end this section with a short blessing spoken softly. May the awareness of shared imperfection remove the need for harsh judgment. May forgiveness find a place to rest on the nightstand of the heart. May the presence that surrounds you keep watch while sleep repairs what is tired. Close the eyes when you are ready. Let the journal rest. Tuck the pen beneath the cover. The shelter of the room and the promise of mercy stay close. Sleep now into that gentle care. Let the night carry the released burdens away on a quiet current. Rest in the peace that is given. I slow my voice even more. The house is quiet. The breath between us moves like soft waves. Tonight, I turn to a single promise about mornings. It is not a complicated thought. It is a simple fact, offered like a small gift. I speak of a merciful kindness that arrives again and again. The message I read says, in essence, that love does not end, and kindness begins anew when dawn comes. The mercy that visited yesterday need not be the last. Each new day brings another small opening. Great faithfulness returns with the sun. Hear that not as an argument. Hear it as an invitation. Imagine waking to fresh air at the window. The air is not the same air as the night. It carries small differences. Those differences are the mercy. They come whether worry permits them or not. Place a soft hand on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. That rise is a measure of another morning waiting. Let the pulse remind the mind that cycles continue. Night folds into morning. Tension loosens one fraction at a time. I ask for a small picture. Picture the first light lifting a curtain. It does not flood the room. It edges forward slowly, like color returning to a painting. The paint glows a little more. Shadows lift. The detail of the room becomes more forgiving. That is the kind of renewal the line promises. Do not think of renewal as a sweeping fix. Think of it as a steady sequence of small mercies. A cup warmed in the hands. A kettle that sings at the kitchen. A neighbor's brief nod. A message that reads simply, I am thinking of you. These are ordinary things, yet they are the daily carriers of grace. I guide the breath with a gentle pace. In through the nose for 4. Hold for 1. Out through the mouth for 6. Let the long out-breath make room for the thought of tomorrow. Each exhale loosens the tight places. Each inhale gathers a quiet readiness. Consider a practical, tiny habit for the morning, not a grand plan. A single small act laid out before sleep. A cup placed on the counter. A coat hung where it can be seen. A page of the journal left open with one line waiting. These small preparations are invitations. They create a place for the new kindness to reach the senses. I read the verse slowly in my head and let the meaning fall into the room. It says that the kindnesses of the night are not the last word. It says that renewed mercy meets the waking heart. Let that truth become an expectation rather than a demand. Expect a small thing, not an overhaul. Let the mind rest on the manageable. If worry whispers that tomorrow will be like today, answer by imagining one concrete difference. Imagine the light on a particular leaf outside the window. Imagine the small warmth of the blanket by the bedside. Imagine the taste of water. First thing, these minor alterations are evidence of the promise. Write one small line in the journal before closing it tonight. The line will be brief. Name one mercy hoped for tomorrow. Keep it tiny. A giet chat. A short walk. A moment of clear thought. The act of writing makes the hope a companion that waits by the bedside. After the single line, beneath it place another tiny note. Name one thing that might need patience tomorrow. One difficulty does not cancel the new mercy. Put the two notes close together. Let hope and realism sit side by side on the page. That pairing is a small discipline. It trains the heart to expect goodness without denying the ordinary struggle. I give you an image of seeds in a pot. They sleep in the dark soil all night. With morning, they sense the shift. They stir very slowly. They do not bloom at once. They simply begin. Renewal behaves this way. It starts small. It requires little tending. It often needs only a patient gaze. Think about waking without pressure. Imagine rising just enough to greet the day. No requirement to fix everything. A gentle scan of needs. Choose one small response. Attend to that. Let the rest stay for later. This manner of beginning makes room for mercy to be seen and felt. Allow the idea of mercy as a pattern, not a single event. It is like a bell that rings softly several times. Each ring is a reminder. The most reliable mercies are repetitive. They return with rhythm. Anticipation grows from that rhythm. When a person expects small kindness, The heart relaxes. I speak briefly about gratitude as a way of receiving. Gratitude need not be loud. It can be a soft label on a morning thought. When the kettle sings. Notice. When a message arrives. Notice. Small noticing opens the senses to more mercies. It trains the mind to be present for gentle gifts. If the night brings regret about mischances, fold that regret into the image of dawn. Think of regret as a small stick on the ground. The morning light warms it. The snow of worry melts a little. The stick does not vanish, but it becomes easier to pick up or to leave behind. Renewal does not erase the past. It changes its weight. I offer one slow exercise to do at waking. Stretch the hands gently toward the window. Breathe in. And name one new thing aloud if voice is available. No need for a speech. One word will do light. Water. Bread. Kindness. Rest. Let that word be an offering to the morning. The naming tunes attention toward what is renewed. Think of the small lamp of hope I described earlier. Place that lamp on the bedside in your imagination. When morning arrives, let the lamp sit together with the alarm or the sun. It does not have to shine uproariously. It simply refuses to be extinguished. Hope that modest will hold for the day. I invite a brief meditation on patience. Renewal moves at its own pace. The night holds a slow apprenticeship. Do not force the dawn. Let time do its soft work. Trust that the body and mind will find their rhythms again if not pressured into hurry. Now, for a short moment, sit with the image of a window with a small drip of rain caught on the sill. Each drop refracts a tiny world. This small wonder is enough to prove that renewal is happening. Look for that refracted detail in the morning. Allow it to be proof that kindness is present in small textures. I read again the promise that mercy is renewed each morning. I do not ask for dramatic evidence. I ask for quiet observation. Wake slowly and see one small thing that previously went unnoticed. Allow the notice to be enough. If sleep interrupts this plan, remember that morning will come anyway. The promise is not dependent on vigilance. It is larger than a single night. That steadiness invites rest. Trust that mercy is on its schedule, not only on ours. Before the moment ends, choose one practical act to make tomorrow gentler. It might be a cup set, a brief walk planned, a text drafted but unsent. Keep the act small. Write it on the page under the hope noted earlier. Close the journal gently. Let the pen rest under the cover. I end with a short blessing offered in the hush. May the morning bring one small kindness that the heart can hold. May the breath that rises with the sun carry new courage into the limb. May the steady pattern of mercies give rest tonight and a soft expectation for tomorrow. Lay the head down without haste. Let the last thought be simple. Morning will come again. The kindness it brings will not be earned. It will arrive like soft rain. Sleep now into that steady return. The night does its work. The dawn waits with renewed grace. The room holds its hush. A lamp sits low on the table. Breath moves in a steady, slow tide. Tonight, I tell a story of a friend. The story is quiet. It moves like the rest of this hour. It is meant to soothe. This friend carries a long history. Years of holding on have made the hands tense. Memory keeps repeating injuries like a recorded song. It is not only one wrong. It is a pattern. Each small hurt stacks onto the last. Sleep becomes thin. Joy feels guarded. The weight sits near the ribs. For a long time, there is resistance to being gentle with the past. Anger is a kind of shield. It promises justice, and then grows heavy. The promise of rest feels like giving up strength. That thought keeps the rest at bay. One evening, the friend comes to the bedside chair. Eyes look tired in the soft lamplight. The voice is small when asked how the day went. The answer is a tired list. I keep my comment short. The practice we share fits what they need. A journal rests on the nightstand. A pen waits. The page welcomes what is offered. We do what we do together. A single gratitude is named. A single burden is placed in small, careful writing. That habit has been steady between us. The act of placing the burden on paper removes some of the heat around it. The friend writes in short strokes. The words are simple. They do not explain everything. They make a shape that can be seen. Then I read from the Bible slowly. I choose a passage that speaks of mercy without sermonizing. The lines do not come as judgment. They come as a steady hand that bends toward the broken place. The reading is slow enough for the heart to match its pace. The friend listens with hands folded on the knees. After the reading, a quiet invitation follows. Not a demand, not a program. A single suggestion: place the named burden on a leaf and set it in a stream in the imagination. The image is ordinary and safe. A leaf picks up the burden like a small boat. The stream accepts it and moves on. The suggestion is offered as a small experiment. Hardly daring. The friend closes the eyes and imagines a narrow brook. Trees lean close to its banks. Light filters through leaves in soft patches. A single leaf floats near the shore. The pen lifts and lays the written line onto that leaf, as if the page becomes a folded message. The leaf is carried by a gentle current. At first, nothing seems to change. The mind checks the bark of old wounds. Old reasons for staying upset rise like small stones put in the path. Each one seems necessary. Each one seems to justify the tightness. Still, the stream moves. The leaf drifts. The current takes some small pieces with it. This is the turning more than a sudden release. The friend does not become unburdened in a single breath. Instead, the hold loosens by the fraction. Muscles around the jaw soften. The shoulders lower 0.5 centimeter. A long-held breath becomes 2 shorter ones. The heart finds a small pause. A practical act follows. Not a declaration. A small step of letting go. A note is written that will not be sent. It expresses what grief and anger needed to say. Then the note is folded and placed in a closed drawer. The drawer is not a denial. It is a choice to set the words where they cannot be reread in the middle of the night. The action is symbolic and real. It changes the pattern of returning to the wound. Forgiveness appears here as an interior choice, not obedience to a rule. It is less about excusing what happened and more about choosing rest over constant vigilance. The friend does not deny the hurt. Memory keeps its place. Forgiveness simply refuses to let that hurt direct every step. That choice is anchored in a sense of presence that grows from the reading. The biblical words act as a steady presence, like someone who sits through the long night and watches the sleeper. That presence is not loud. It is a refuge made of patience. It gives permission to be tired without bearing the entire burden alone. Days pass in small increments. The friend practices the routine. A morning line is written. A short prayer of trust is offered. Actions are small and steady. A brief walk happens after breakfast. A phone call is made to a neighbor. Each small act builds a gentle architecture of life where mercy can live. One afternoon, months later, the friend returns with an unforced smile. It sits at the edge of the eyes rather than the lips. The face looks less guarded. The sleep pattern has shifted. Rest deepens in dages. The old record still plays sometimes, but its volume has dropped. Peace is not dramatic. It is the slow settling of dust after a wind. I notice a particular moment that marks real change. The friend stands by a riverbank on a cool morning. A small stone lies near the edge. The hand reaches and picks that stone up. The fingers hold it briefly. A quiet thought is offered aloud. But not to me. It is a thought placed into the air and then released. The stone is set down, not thrown. That act carries more than the movement itself. It is a visible way of saying that what was carried need not remain in the hand. The presence of Christ, as I have read and shared, is not presented as a ladder to climb. It is more like a room where someone waits with warm tea. There is no pressure to perform. There is welcome. The mercy extended there gives the courage to let go in small ways. That courage grows from being known and not rejected. Apaternemerges. Forgiveness finds shape in tiny habits. Writing, imaging, naming, setting down, walking. The habits form a pathway that is easier to follow each time. When the past calls loudly, the friend can choose one small act instead of rehearsing the whole story. The choice becomes the work of tenderness. There are still hard nights. Reminders of old pains sometimes wake the chest. When that happens, the friend uses the practices learned. A breath is lengthened. The journal opens. A single line is written. The leaf and the stream are imagined again. The habit is steady, like a lifeline. What this friend learns quietly is that forgiveness is less a one-time victory and more a rhythm. It is a repeated choosing toward mercy. Each choice is small. Each choice is a turning toward rest. Over time, those small turns change the direction of walking. The heart learns to expect kindness. The community around the friend matters in gentle ways. A neighbor brings soup without comment. A phone message simply says, "Thinking of you." A friend sits without trying to fix. These small gestures do not erase the pain. They build new textures of life that make room for healing. I reflect on the role of the Bible in that slow recovery. The readings chosen are simple. They speak of presence, of mercy, of steady care. They do not preach a formula. They offer images that can be lived. The words act as companions rather than commands. They give someone a place to rest the burden, while the body learns to repair. There is no triumphal moment to point to. Instead, there is a quiet horizon that shifts. Mornings begin with a small expectation rather than a bracing dread. Nights come with a willingness to sleep rather than a vigil of worry. The friend learns that peace is as much a matter of small movements as of deep feeling. If this story touches the listener, consider one tiny experiment tonight. Name one small burden in a single sentence. Place it on the page. Imagine it on a leaf in a stream. Close the journal. Tuck the pen away. Let a single breath be the bridge between worry and rest. I close the hour now with a reading that has accompanied this friend through the slow changes. The passage is brief. It emphasizes mercy and presence. I read it without argument, simply as an invitation to rest. The voice slows. The room listens. A soft blessing is offered. May the small habits of forgiveness find a place in the night. May mercy meet what is most tired. May the coming morning bring one gentle kindness to keep. Lay the head down. Let the breath become a steady tide. Sleep into the peace that grows one small step at a time. I settle into the same low place in my voice. The lamp breathes its soft circle. The room is patient. The journal lies closed on the nightstand. I keep my sentences short. I keep the pace slow. Tonight I return to a gentle invitation I read earlier. The words come from Matthew. Though I will not recite them, they offer an open hand to the weary. They ask for simple trust. They name rest as something offered, not earned. The promise is small and kind. I tell the story of that invitation in quiet terms. The invitation leaves the striving at the door. It says that shoulders may ease. It says that a heavy pack can be set down. The tone is humble. The promise is soft. It is meant to cradle, not to command. I invite a posture first. Sit or lie, with the back supported. Let the hands be loose. Allow the feet to rest. If the eyes close, that is welcome. If they stay open, let them soften. The body often knows the way before words make sense. Breathe in slowly. Count only to 3. Hold the pause like a small shelter. Release on a longer out-breath. Let each exhale feel like a small lowering of weight. Do this a few times. The rhythm steadies the chest. The invitation becomes easier in that breathed space. Imagine traveler at dusk. The road is long. The traveler carries a sack of small stones. Each stone is a worry. Each stone has a name. None of the stones can be picked up at once. The traveler arrives at a simple inn. The innkeeper gestures toward a low bench and offers a plain bowl. The traveler sets the sack on the bench. The stones are tipped into the bowl one by one. That scene is a picture of the invitation. Surrender here is an act of placing, not of loss. The stones keep their shape. They do not disappear like a trick, but their weight changes. The bench bears them. The bowl contains them. The traveler rests the hands on empty knees and allows the body to soften. If a single worry sits most present tonight, name it in a small phrase. Write that phrase on a scrap of paper. The line will be short. No explanation is required. The act of writing makes the worry portable. It moves the thought from head into hand. Fold the scrap and place it in a place chosen on purpose. Not a stream this time. Choose a small wooden box or a drawer, or simply a flat stone on the windowsill. Put the paper there and close the lid, or let the rock cover it. The object does not erase the worry. It sets it in a place where it can be looked at later without rolling across the floor of the mind all night. Now consider the notion of a yoke as it is used in the invitation I read. A yoke can sound like a burden, yet the voice in Matthew speaks of a yoke that fits gently. Imagine a yoke made of soft willow. It rests across the shoulders with ease. Another hand meets yours beneath that willow. The weight is not borne alone. The load becomes shared. Picture taking that gentle yoke. Let it sit lightly across the shoulders in the imagination. Feel the ease. Let the posture change by a degree. The spine lengthens not in alarm, but in the relief of support. If pride resists the idea of shared burden, let humility enter as a small door. It opens without drama. It allows rest. Surrender does not mean surrender of self. It means acceptance of help. It means no longer insisting that every step be carried solo. There is grace in the choice to lean into another's steadiness. The image is ordinary. Two people walking with a shared load. One steady, one relieved. Neither is diminished. Both move more gently. I speak a small line from memory form. It is an echo rather than a quote. It calls the weary to come and rest. It promises a yoke that is easy and a burden that is light. Let those images land not as theology, but as practical relief. They are handholds for a tired body. Practice a small handing over now. Take the scrap of paper from the wooden box or stone. Unfold it with calm fingers. Read the single phrase silently. Then lay the paper down and place a hand over it for a slow count of 3. On the third count, imagine offering the paper into a larger set of hands. Those hands are steady and unhurried. Release the grip. Slide your own hand away and let the paper stay. Notice what shifts in the chest. It may be only a millimeter. It may be a small thaw. That small change is real. Many recoveries begin with tiny adjustments. You are training a muscle of letting go. If surrender meets resistance, do not scold the resistance. Watch it like a small animal that flares and then calms. Ask only one question: what would rest feel like if it were permitted for one night? Let the imagination answer. If the answer is simply a softer breath, carry that softness forward. I offer another tangible step. Place the journal at the bedside with a single line waiting on the page. One thing for rest. Fill that line with the smallest wish rest. Sleep. Peace. Close the journal with the intention that the written hope will be left there until morning. The act is a covenant between hands and heart. It says, for now, this burden will wait at the bedside. Humility shows up here as small acts rather than declarations. A hand placed on the pillow, a blanket straightened without fanfare. Choosing to stop rehearsing the day's mistakes. Let these acts be the practice of mild surrender. They are quiet and steady. Be aware of posture through the night. If the body tightens, guide it back with a breath. If the mind rises with worry, Hold a single word in the mind, like a slow bead rest. Repeat it softly. Do not argue with racing thoughts. Offer the bead again and let it roll. The invitation I read promises learning. It says, "Learn from one who is gentle." Learning here is unhurried. It is like watching someone repair a small toy with slow, sure movements. You do not imitate perfectly at first. You watch, then act in your small way. The posture of learning is humble. It keeps hands open and eyes soft. A short practice of learning helps. Tonight, choose a tiny lesson to try tomorrow that will ease the day. It might be a 10-minute pause after lunch to breathe. It might be a brief walk without a screen. It might be asking for help with a single task. Keep the lesson tiny. Let it be possible. The habit of gentle learning often begins in such small experiments. There is mercy in patience. Surrender works slowly. It is not a one-time fix. The invitation to rest may be taken many times. Each taking loosens another knot. Do not expect a sudden unburdening. Expect a steady series of small surrenders. Over time, they build a different habit of living. I speak now with a lowering voice about trust. Trust is not certainty. Trust is a decision to let one night be less fraught. It is a small promise offered to the self tonight. A portion of the load may be set down. Repeat that promise, silently. Let it sit as a soft shield. Before the reading ends, return to the body. Notice hands and their warmth. Notice the weight of the eyelids. Breathe long and unhurried. Let the heart slow into the rhythm already forming in the room. The invitation to come and rest is present. It does not demand an elaborate response. I read a brief passage now. In plain words, shaped by Matthew's call. It is not a quotation. It is a voice telling the weary to pause, to bring what weighs them down, and to accept a gentle burden in exchange. The tone is welcoming. The intent is rest. After the reading, keep a brief silence. Let the words settle into the chest. If sleep comes, accept it without shame. If wakefulness remains, keep the breath patient and the hands relaxed. The practice of surrender continues. One last small action before the room falls deeper. Reach with a quiet hand to the bedside table. Touch the journal. Feel its cover. Remember the line written for rest. Let the hand rest there a moment and then lower it. The action is a tiny ceremony of trust. I close this part with a soft blessing. May the ease promised to the weary be real tonight. May burdens be lightened by a shared yoke. May humility open a door to rest. Lay down what you can. Breathe into the space that remains. Sleep into the care offered in these simple words. The voice softens and pauses. The room keeps its watch. Rest now. And let the invitation be kept through the night. I sit with the lamp low and the page open. The night moves slow. My voice holds the hush. I read to you as the house breathes out. Tonight I turn to a simple picture from the psalm. It is the quiet of lying down. It is sleep that arrives without sharp edges. The line says rest can be peaceful because someone keeps watch. Hear that as an image, not an argument. Let it settle into the bones. Imagine the bed as a small harbor. Boards creak softly. A boat tied to a post rocks just enough to feel alive. The ropes are not cut. They are steady. The water laps at the hull in a steady, kind rhythm. That rhythm is the watchfulness the psalm speaks of. It is not a loud patrol. It is a gentle keeping that lets the boat sleep. Put a hand on the chest. Feel the slow drum. Let the hand stay there a few breaths. Each inhale draws in calm. Each exhale lets go of a tiny weight. I speak slowly. Pause comes between each phrase, so the breath can follow. Healing comes often more like a salve than a surgery. Scripture works in the same way. A short line rubbed into a sore spot eases the ache. It does not have to explain everything. It soothes. It becomes a small habit of care. Pick one short phrase from tonight's reading. Keep it no longer than a breath. A few words that can be said quietly to oneself. Hold the phrase on the tongue of thought. Let it roll like a small ball across the inside of the mouth. The phrase will begin to change the feel of the worry when it is repeated as a slow lullaby. Scripture as healing is gentle. A patient friend sits at the bedside with a poultice. They do not demand tears or confessions. They lay the fabric on the wound and sit very still. The comfort comes more from steadiness than from announcements. Let the words you hear become that poultice tonight. If there is a memory that pricks, do not chase it. Let it come and go like a bird at the window. Notice its color. Notice its quickness. Then return to the safe image of the psalm. Let the thought of being watched over be a shelter big enough to hold the bird without harm. I read a short line from the scripture. Shaped to rest rather than to rouse. The sentence is simple and direct. It speaks of lying down in peace and the steadiness of a guarding presence. Listen to the cadence. Let it move like a lullaby. The meaning is not in clever argument, but in the warmth it leaves behind. Healing through Scripture often asks for small exercises. One helpful step is to slow the lips around a phrase. Say it aloud as if speaking to a child who needs calm. Say it again, softer. Let the sound travel through the jaw, across the throat, into the chest. The body remembers the pattern of care, the way the ear remembers a familiar tune. Another small practice is to imagine the watchers as ordinary caretakers rather than distant figures. Picture a neighbor who brings a hot cup. Picture a steady friend who sits by the window and knots string into small, useful things. These simple images make the watchfulness feel close and practical. They invite sleep rather than alarm. Do a brief body scan now. Start at the toes and move upward with the thought of protection. Think of each part being gently covered: foot, calf, knee, thigh. Each spot receives a touch of the psalm's calm. Let tension soften where it has been strong too long. If the mind resists healing, remind it of small proofs, a brief kindness earlier in the day, a meal that warmed the hands, a message that arrived without demand. These small mercies are evidence that watchfulness is not only promised, but practiced. Let such memories be the bread of the night. Healing is not always a single bright event. It is the slow softening that comes with repeated care. Imagine an old wood table that has been sanded lightly over many evenings. The rough edge does not vanish in a moment. It becomes smoother over time. Scripture can sand the edges with tiny, steady strokes. I offer a short guided moment. Close the eyes if that feels good. Picture a small room with a low ceiling and soft light. There is a quilt folded in a chair. A gentle presence moves about without hurry. They do nothing dramatic. They simply arrange the pillow. They pour a cup of tea. They fold a blanket more carefully than before. Watch these small motions. They teach the body how to let go. Keep breathing in a measured way. 4 in, 2 hold, 6 out. The longer out-breath invites the body to lengthen. Each exhale is a small release of weight. Let the breath be the current that carries the healing words deeper than the mind can reach. If sleep has been thin for a while, allow Scripture to imprint on the small routines. Read a single verse aloud each night for a week. Repeat it without trying to analyze it. Let the words become a nightly bell. The rhythm trains the nervous system to expect calm. And that expectation itself becomes a small healer. Also consider a tactile reminder. A smooth pebble held quietly in the palm can stand in for a verse. When worry comes in the dark, touch the pebble and say the phrase once. The pebble anchors the word in the body. The movement is tiny and private, and it often gives the mind a useful shape to settle into. I speak now of mercy as a slow net that catches small failures. The net is not designed to shame. It is designed to hold what slips. So rest can resume. Imagine dropping a cup and having a soft cloth wrap around the pieces. The break remains, but the danger of jagged edges lessens. That is the mercy Scripture offers in its steady way. There may be nights when no clear healing is felt. That is acceptable. Healing can be invisible at first. So use the same practices anyway. Keep saying the short phrase. Keep the pebble close. Keep the breath even. Small repetitions build a habit of peace that eventually shifts the inner weather. I encourage a tiny act of devotion before sleep. Choose one small verse or line and repeat it slowly 3 times, with tenderness. No need to dissect it. Let the words be a soft lamp on the path to sleep. If attention drifts, bring it back without harshness. Each return is part of the healing. When the eyes grow heavy, picture the watchful place again. A widziecki abów, a firm ground beneath. Her presence walks the edge of the field and keeps the tiles in order so nothing sharp misses the feet. That careful tending is what the psalm wants to give. Receive it like a blanket. I will read one last gentle line to hold in the mind. It is simple and quiet. It says, rest can be peaceful because safekeeping is present. I speak it slowly. Let the cadence match the breath. After the line, keep the silence long enough for the body to answer. Let the room fill with the small sounds of night. Let the breath sit deep. If sleep comes now, let it arrive without guilt or hurry. If wakefulness remains, continue the practices, the short phrase, the pebble, the attentive breath. The healing is patient before the hour ends. Place a soft intention for tomorrow, one small mercy to look for, one tiny act of care to offer yourself. Write it in a single line if you like, or keep it as a thought in the heart. That small intention will meet the morning kindly. I close this section with a brief blessing, spoken very softly. May the night hold you in steady care. May small phrases become soft psalms. May sleep come with the certainty of a watching hand. Rest now in that quiet keeping. The lamp breathes out. The page rests. I lower my voice and let the silence keep watch. Sleep into safety. I settle into the familiar hush. The lamp casts a small pool of light. The house breathes slow. My voice is a soft presence across the bed covers. Tonight, the reading moves to a promise about renewed strength. I share it not as argument, but as a balm. I begin with a single image. Imagine an eagle at dawn. It unfurls its wings in the cool light. The bird does not strain to fly. It catches the rising air and is lifted. The image is gentle and sure. Let that motion be the first thing the mind sees. I speak of a line from Isaiah. I do not debate it. I hold its meaning like a hand on the shoulder. The line says that those who place their hope in the Lord find strength renewed. They rise. They run without fading. They walk without weariness. Let that promise sit as an invitation rather than an obligation. Breathe with me now. In through the nose for 4. Pause for 2. Out through the mouth for 6. Make the out-breath slightly longer than the in-breath. This rhythm gives room. Each exhale loosens a small knot in the chest. Each inhale gathers a quiet warmth. Hold the image of the eagle again. Picture its wings broad and steady. Imagine a single feather falling. Slow and sure. See the feather land lightly on the palm. It is lighter than expected. It carries a suggestion strength can arrive as an ease. Not a shove. Let the palm feel that imaginary feather for a moment. Notice physical space. The shoulders often hold the weight first. Let them drop a fraction. Feel the collarbone widen just enough to make breathing easier. If the jaw is tight, let the lips soften. A small slackening changes how the body answers the mind. I read the line from Isaiah softly. Shaped into a simple thought, hope in the Lord brings renewed strength like wings that lift a tired body. Hear it as a breath, not a lecture. Allow the words to rest on the ribs. Let the rhythm of speech match the breathing already moving through the room. If a place of weakness comes to mind, name it in one brief sentence. Keep it short. A single line will do one word or a short phrase. The act of naming makes the need visible to the heart. It is not an admission of failure. It is an honest calling for help. Now imagine receiving renewal as a warm current. The feeling begins at the feet. It is a small warmth that rises slowly. It passes the knees, eases the hips, pools in the belly. The ribs open. The shoulders grow lighter. The current reaches the back of the throat and loosens the chest. Strength arrives not as force, but as a gentling tide that makes movement less heavy. If eyes are open, look at a small light in the room and soften the gaze. If eyes are closed, visualize a pale dawn. Let the light come gradually. It warms the eyelids from the inside. Strength often grows in the same way, through slow light, rather than sudden heat. I give a small practice to try tomorrow morning, before the day becomes busy. hold a feather or a small token for 10 quiet breaths. Use it as a reminder that strength can be a light thing that rests on the hand. The token is not magic. It is a cue to invite hope into the first moments of waking. That tiny act primes the system to receive renewal slowly throughout the day. Return once more to the chest. Place a hand there, if that feels right. Feel the steady beat beneath. Each beat is a measure of life kept and held. Let the pulse anchor the thought that renewal is not always dramatic. Often it is steady and small. One more breath grows the next. The reading continues in a softer voice. Those who wait on the Lord find new energy. Waiting here is not idleness. It is attentive rest. It is a posture that trusts a pattern instead of forcing an outcome. Imagine patience as a stretcher that supports the body while muscles repair. Let patience be the scaffold for renewed capacity. If worry interrupts, give it a quick, kind nod. Say the name of the worry once, and then return to the feather image. Do not chase away the thought with force. Instead, offer it a place beside the palm where the feather rests. The worry may still be present, but it does not have to weigh down the whole body tonight. I suggest a short journaling moment. Write one line about where fresh strength is needed. Keep the line simple. No need for chapters. A single sentence anchors intention. Fold the paper and keep it in a small place by the pillow. The folded line will be a direction, not a demand. For the morning, imagine strength given as a quiet teacher. It does not shout. It shows a small step to take, and then another. Each step is feasible. Each one is enough. Picture the teacher pointing to the first step, and then staying nearby as the foot moves. That companionship is part of the renewal promised in Isaiah. Now I speak a brief encouragement. Hope is not a fragile wish. It is a tender muscle that grows with small, faithful uses. Each time hope is offered a little space, it becomes more likely to return. The practice of waiting, of naming one need, of breathing with care, these habits form the path along which renewed strength travels. Let the body drift towards sleep, while holding the image of the feather and the rising air. Sense the bed as a generous place where muscles can unbind. Allow the spine to lengthen a fraction and rest. The breath continues its measured rhythm. The heartbeat keeps a calm time. I read another short line. Shaped by the text, those who hope are given power to rise and endure. Hear it as a promise for the small things. Endurance here is not heroic. It is the steady ability to meet the next moment. The text offers a slow refilling, like a cup carefully topped up until it is steady. If insomnia presses, try this count breaths backward from 10 to 1, while imagining each number as a step up a gentle slope. With each descent in number, feel the slope make the lift easier. When 1 is reached, allow the feather to settle on the hand and the body to follow its lead. The exercise shifts attention from agitation to ease. I remind that renewal can come in interruptions. A short nap, a brief moment of clear thought, an unexpected smile. These are forms of strength returning. The promise is not limited to grand recoveries. It meets the life that is actually lived. with its small triumphs and daily needs. Place the journal closed on the nightstand when ready. Slide the folded line beneath its cover or into a drawer. Let it be safe for morning. The act of tucking a hope away is an act of trust. It says for now, rest for morning. A small readiness. I offer a short blessing in a voice lowered further. May hope rest in you tonight like a feather on the palm. May strength be renewed in small, faithful measures. May the breath you follow escort you into deeper sleep. Receive the hush. Receive the quiet promise. After a long pause, I let the silence hold the room. The lamp dims to a hush. The words settle like a soft cloth. Rest now, and let strength be renewed in its patient way. I sit with the lamp low. The paper is open. The night holds a soft hush. I speak in a voice that moves slowly. My words are short. The air between us breathes with the same rhythm. Tonight I bring two simple truths. One is about bringing requests. The other is about light in darkness. Both are small and gentle. Both are meant for tired ears. I begin with the act of asking. The letter to the Philippians tells us to present our requests to God. It does so with a calm urgency. It does not command worry away. It invites a practice. The act is simple. Take what is heavy and put it before the one who listens. I offer a tiny exercise. Name 3 small things that press tonight. Keep each one brief, not a long account. One short phrase for each. A worry about tomorrow. A tiredness that does not stop. A fear that returns at odd hours. Write each on a small scrap of paper. The writing makes the thought less slippery. The hand carries the weight into the world, where it can be seen. When the scraps are folded, hold them in both hands. Close the eyes. Breathe in slowly. Hold the breath a heartbeat. Exhale long. Imagine handing the folded lines into a larger hand. The image need not be elaborate. It can be like placing a letter into a soft envelope that is already warm. The offering is not magical. It is real in motion. It is a turning of the problem from a constant inner loop to a single act of entrusting. The text promises a peace that is hard to explain. It calls this peace a guard for the heart and mind. Picture that guard as a quiet circle of light around the chest. It does not shout at worry. It does not argue with it. It stands steady like an old lighthouse on a night when fog muffles sound. The light from that lighthouse is not harsh. It is calm and reliable. It keeps a small radius where movement is safe. The mind can rest inside that circle without constant alarm. Peace, in this sense, is not the same as having all answers. It is not a tidy end of every problem. Instead, it is a way the body and mind stop running on the hot coals of anxious thought. There is room between the breaths for gentleness. The heart can slow. The decisions that will come tomorrow can wait until morning. For now, the mercy of quiet arrives. I read the phrase in my head rather than quote it. The writer says, do not be anxious. Bring everything in prayer and supplication. Let requests be known. Then a peace comes that surpasses ordinary understanding and keeps the heart safe. I read the thought slowly, so the meaning can land where the body hears it. not only where the mind argues with it. Presenting requests is an act of honesty. It names weakness. It refuses to perform. It says, I cannot carry this alone tonight. That admission is not failure. It is a doorway. The act of bringing a single worry into the light allows something else to happen. Sleep becomes possible. Mercy finds a place to fall. The muscles around the collarbone unclench. The breath deepens. I guide the breathing now. In through the nose for 4. Hold for 2. Out through the mouth for 6. With each out-breath, imagine one folded scrap sliding into the hand of kindness. Let the exhale loosen the fingers. Let the hand release. There is a second image I bring from John's opening words, about the light. The light shines in the darkness. The darkness does not overcome it. Think of this light not as a glare, but as a steady lamp in a window. It does not banish the night in a sudden sweep. It offers a point to rest the eye when worry stalks like shadow over the mind. The light is still there. It makes sure that the darkness never quite claims everything. Combine the two images. Bring the scrap of paper into the soft window lamp of God's presence. Place each folded worry on the sill. Watch the lamp touch them with warmth. The worries do not evaporate like mist. They remain visible. But they change under the light. Edges soften. The urgency that made the heart race becomes one color among many. Not the only color. The peace that follows is inexplicable because it does not always match the facts of the situation. Things may still be hard in the morning. The list of problems will not vanish. Yet a different relationship to those problems can appear. A small continuity of hope forms. It is not loud. It is a thread that runs from the night into the next day. It steadies movement. It lets hands open. I often read these words aloud before sleep. I paraphrase them softly. The voice becomes a tool. Hearing the phrases lowers their weight. The sound itself acts like a small permission to let go. Forsummer. This hearing is the first time the request leaves the inner loop. For others, it is a reminder that the habit of carrying everything alone need not continue. Now, a brief practice to end the night. Place the scraps under the pillow, or in a small box beside the bed. If that feels too final, tuck them into an envelope and set it near the lamp. The physical act matters. It creates a boundary between the waking worry and the space of rest. Then lead down. Let the pulse slow. If the mind begins to replay the worries, return to the scrap you folded first. Picture it in the lamp's warmth. Repeat one short phrase. You are known. You are accompanied. The words sit like a soft pebble in the mouth. They do not argue back. They rest. Light in darkness is also a reminder that nothing is unseen. The lamp by the window shows that searching does not have to be exhaustive. Something watches. That something is steady, not frantic. It keeps vigil. The human heart is soothed by such watching. It is soothed because watching means care without impatience. If sleep resists, use the breath as a slow drum. Count breaths backward from 10. With each number, imagine the lamp growing steadier and the circle of peace widening by a quiet inch. The work of rest is not violent. It is incremental. Each tiny shift is a victory. I do not promise immediate repair. I do not promise that every worry will resolve by morning. The invitation is narrower and truer. Bring your requests. Allow a steady presence to receive them. And let the heart find a guarded calm. Many nights this practice is enough to let the body do what it needs to do. Sleep. Repère. Dream. There is a tenderness in this rhythm. It treats the self with small, practical acts. Name. Write. Offer. Breathe. Imagine light. Repeat. The repetition trains the nerves to recognize care. Or team. The heart expects mercy, and expectation itself lessens fear. Before I close, I read a short paraphrase of both passages aloud in a voice that barely moves the air. I do not use grand phrases. I use plain sentences that a tired ear can hold. I say, bring your needs. Present them simply. A peace will arrive, like a slow guard around the heart. Keep a small light near the bed. Remember that the light shines in any dark. Darkness does not have the final word. Now a final invitation. Choose one small request to bring tonight. Make it brief. Let it be manageable. Place it in the hand of the practice. Breathe with the rhythm. See it by the lamp. Then let the body yield to sleep without shame. I rest the book closed. The lamp dims a fraction more. The breath between us keeps its slow tide. A blessing sits in the room like a warm scarf. May the act of presenting your needs bring a peace that passes the mind's sharp accounting. May the light at the window be real to the senses. May the night hold you in steady care. I lower my voice to near silence. The room takes the sound. The words I read will remain like a small lantern beside the bed. Sleep now. Let the gentle peace keep watch. The lamp breathes in the same slow rhythm. The room keeps its soft hush. I sit with the book closed on my lap. The voice is low. The sentences stay small. Tonight I hold a passage that speaks of an unbreakable bond. I do not recite it word for word. I offer its meaning like a small lantern. The thought is simple and steady. Nothing finally separates the heart from the love that holds it. Imagine a single thread. The thread runs through the center of a life. It is thin, but strong. It cannot be cut by storms or by the sharp wind of fear. No matter how the day pulls at the ends, the thread keeps a quiet connection. Picture that thread as warm. It is a living thing. It hums softly like a string close to a listening ear. List the usual threads gently. Death, life, forces both seen and unseen. Présent trouble, unknown futures, powers and heights and depths. All of these names come and go. The thread remains. It does not depend on perfect answers or tidy endings. It simply keeps its hold. Put a hand on the chest. Now, feel the small beat beneath the palm. Let the pulse remind the mind of the thread. The touch is an anchor. The rhythm of the heart matches the steadiness of the promise. In that match, the anxiety is not erased. It shifts its posture. It looks less like a threat and more like a weather to be noticed from a safe place. I tell a short story of a small kitchen table. Once, a person I know left a single ribbon tied around the handle of a mug. The ribbon was ordinary and a bit faded. Each morning that person saw the ribbon and felt less alone. The ribbon did not do anything heroic. It served as a reminder that a line of care crossed the room and made certain things gentler. Tonight, imagine a ribbon like that on the bedside. Tie it quietly in the mind. Let the ribbon stand for the unbroken love named in the passage. Breathe with me. In through the nose for 4. Pause for 2. Out through the mouth for 6. The long out-breath unclenches small knots. Each exhale loosens the hold of worry. The breath is a tool that brings the awareness back to the body where the thread is felt most simply. If a hard thought rises, fear of loss, a sense of being left, name it very briefly: fear, loss, doubt. Do not argue. Do not explain. Place the name on a small card in the imagination and set it on the nightstand. Let the card rest there under the lamp's soft glow. The act of placing gives the thought a boundary. It does not vanish, but it no longer demands to be the center of the room. Now picture the thread again. See it running from the center of the chest outward. It passes through the night like a faint, steady light. It carries a warmth that is not flashy. The light does not banish the dark altogether. It makes sure that the dark cannot claim everything. It draws a small circle around the sleeping shape and keeps watch. There is comfort in the idea that love does not end with a single moment. It is not a reward for perfect living. It is not held as payment for a flawless day. The passage I read says, in calm terms, that love persists across conditions. That persistence looks like patient presence rather than dramatic rescue. Picture a neighbor who sits through a storm with a cup of tea. They do not fix the weather. They simply keep the seat warm. If the mind asks why this should be trusted, answer with small proofs rather than heavy logic. A hand that stayed the night when it was needed. A friend's voice that returned a call. A morning that showed up after a long evening. These are small, concrete tokens of a pattern. They are not the full explanation. They are enough for the heart to rest. Try a short practice now. Find a scrap of ribbon or a strip of cloth. If nothing is at hand, imagine it. Tie it once with calm fingers. Hold the knot for 3 slow breaths. On the last exhale, imagine the knot slipping over the thread that runs from the chest. Let the knot be a physical sign that the heart is tethered. When the mind wanders into worry during the night, touch the ribbon and remember the shape of the thread. The action is small. Its regularity trains the nerves to recognize steadiness. The unbreakable bond speaks also to the parts that feel abandoned. If loneliness sits hard tonight, let the phrase fall softly in the ear of memory held. Say it once in the mind. Held. Let the single word be a soft stone in the palm. It is not an explanation. It is a fact placed where the body can carry it. I do not present this as a tidy solution. There are nights when grief is noisy and continuous. The heart remembers, and a single image is not enough. Still, the steady thread offers a different posture toward that noise. It allows the soul to listen without being pulled under. It makes space for tears without surrendering to despair. It holds even when the hands are empty and the questions have no answers. There is a gentleness in accepting that the bond remains through confusion. Imagine a child learning to trust a path through the dark. The hand of the parent is not heavy. It is present. The child learns step by step. So it is with the heart and the steady love. Trust grows in small increments. Each little step toward sleep is a proof that the hand is near. If the practice of tying a ribbon feels helpful, keep it close. Place it under the pillow or tie it to the journal. Let the object be a small sacrament of rest, a way to make the invisible tether visible for a moment. The act is not magic. It is memory made tactile. It teaches the fingers to meet the heart with a claim of hope. Now, a short invitation to prayer. Gentle and wordless. Take 3 breaths and let the breath carry the single phrase, held in love. No argument, no list of demands. Just a simple repeating until the words fit like a soft garment. Repeat them slowly. Let the cadence become a lullaby. Think of the days ahead with a small kindness. The bond does not promise that all trials will vanish. It promises that a deep current of love runs under the apparent chaos. That current steadies the rowing. So actions do not have to be frantic. Let this thought adjust the posture for morning less haste. More small, faithful steps. Name one tiny thing to do tomorrow that will let that current be felt. A brief walk. A kind text. A cup set ready. Keep it simple. Tonight the teaching is not for the head. It is for sleeping limbs. Allow the phrase of the bond to sink into the shoulders. Let the shoulders drop a little. Let the jaw soften. Let the fingers curl in the trust that something unending watches and keeps. I will read one brief paraphrase now. Not as a debate, but as an invitation. Nothing large or small can finally tear away the heart from the love that upholds it. Hear this as a soft fact, offered in the quiet of the room. Let it sit beside the breath like a warm cup. After the reading, hold a silence long enough for the body to answer. If eyes close, that is welcome. If not, keep the ribbon in the hand for a few more breaths. Feel the thread in the imagination. Feel the heartbeat beneath the palm. Before sleep, tuck the journal at the bedside with one short line on the open page tonight. I rest in unshakable love. Fold the corner of the page and let the pen rest beneath the cover. The small ceremony helps the mind accept the night as a place where the thread keeps the heart. I end with a blessing spoken softly. May the knowledge of unbreaking love settle the chest. May the thread be felt as warmth across the ribs. May the night keep its watch. And may the morning be a gentle return to day. Rest into that steady care. The lamp breathes out. The room holds the hush. Breathe once more, slow and true. Sleep into the fact of being held. I sit with you in the hush. The lamp breathes low. The window keeps a dark, patient sky. I read softly now. And the words are shaped by a single thought from Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the hills. I wonder where help comes from. Then I remember help comes from the one who made heaven and earth. Listen with the whole body. Let the eyes relax behind closed lids, or rest on the dark. Imagine a ridge of hills, not distant as a fact, but near as a presence. The hills breathe in the wind. They neither hurry nor complain. They keep their quiet. In that steadiness there is a kind of company. Think of the sky above the hills. It stretches without edge. Stars gather like small lanterns. The air holds cool and slow. When I feel the vastness, my small fears change shape. They look less like cliffs and more like pebbles at the shoreline. The shore is wide. The tide is patient. I invite a small practice. Turn attention to a single thing outside, or imagined a tree, a cloud, the outline of a distant hill. Hold that image for 3 slow breaths. Breathe in with the image. Breathe out and imagine the image holding you back. You are not isolated from this wider keeping. You are part of a scene that is never entirely yours to fix. Creation speaks in many voices. There is a low language of stone. There is wind that moves leaves like a slow conversation. There is water that counts time without hurry. When I listen to those sounds, I am reminded that the Maker is attentive to countless small movements. The caring that sustains mountains also tends to the small places inside a human chest. This thought helps when nights feel too large. The sky above does not demand performance. It simply is. Stars shine and then fade with no requirement that a watcher must earn them. The presence that forms the hills and the stars is patient in that same way. It does not call for a perfect answer from the heart. It watches and keeps. If there is unrest tonight, place it beside a natural image. Name the unrest in one quiet line. Then imagine setting it at the foot of the hill. The hill is old and steady. It neither mocks nor ignores. It receives the burden like a bench receives a bag. The action is not magic. It is a changing of posture. The burden no longer rides the shoulders alone. I offer a small invitation for the fingers. If a window is near, slide it open a fraction. Let the night air pass over the skin of the face. If there is no window, imagine a breeze. Feel it pass near the ear. Nature's breath is not loud. It is a reminder that the vastness breathes with you. That breathing is a shared rhythm. Creation teaches a kind of belonging that is gentle. A leaf does not claim the whole tree. A river does not force the shore to be anything else but shore. Each part does its simple work. The lesson for a tired soul is that belonging does not require performance. It simply requires being where one is, under the same sky, held by the same Maker. Let me bring the psalm into the room with the tenderness it intends. I lift my eyes to the hills, and I ask where my help comes from. My help, I remember, comes from the one who fashioned the heights and the deep. The Maker's skill is not distant. It is present in the small hinge of a bird's wing and in the large arc of the night sky. That same hand that shaped galaxies also touches the small things that ache. I use a gentle image now. Picture a potter at a wheel. The potter shapes with care. Clay yields under the touch. But the Maker does not hurry. There is no scolding in the motion. The Maker keeps watching the form, adjusting, steadying. In that craft, there is both grandeur and tenderness. The Creator's attention works like the potter's hands, skilled, patient, present. When I imagine help from such a Maker, I find room to breathe. The struggle to control every small corner softens. The mind can stop rehearsing possible failures. The heart can accept a kind of aid that is not the roar of a hero, but the steady tending of a friend who knows how to fix tiny tears. I encourage a small sensorial focus. Place a hand on something near a blanket. The journal. The tabletop. Feel its texture. Let the tactile sense join the thought of creation. The same God who sets mountains also shapes the feel of a fabric. There is continuity there. The grand and the intimate meet in a single care. This unity with creation fosters a quiet trust. Trust is not a sudden leap. It grows like moss on a stone in a slow, patient way. Small, repeated experiences build it. A dawn that comes after a dark night, a steady breath that returns after a gasp. An por simple kindness. The Maker's presence threads through those small events, and the heart learns to follow that thread. If prayer feels difficult, you may try a small litany of creation. Keep it simple. Name one element at a time: sky, water, tree. After each name, pause to feel the body respond. Let the naming be a way of aligning with what already exists. In naming, the soul comes to rest beside the Maker's handiwork. I will read a short paraphrase now. Shaped for the ear more than the mind, I look up to the hills, and the question of help comes alive. The answer arrives, not as a proof, but as a presence. Help is given by the Maker of heaven and earth. Hear it as companionship. Hear it as a quiet fact, rather than a theory. Let it settle in the chest, like a small lantern. When I speak of unity, I mean more than observation. I mean belonging. A human life is not apart from the river or the star. The body, the breath, the thought are carried by the same life that carries oak and cloud. That kinship reduces the loneliness that can swell in the night. Connection is not only between people, it is also between a person and the whole tapestry of things. If grief is present tonight, imagine planting it like a small seed in a garden tended by the Maker. Seeds do not vanish. They change. They sometimes become shoots that surprise with green. Other times they rest beneath the soil until warmth returns. Both outcomes are part of a pattern. The gardener's patience tends the seed through phases you cannot rush. Keep the journal close. If a single thought about creation comes, write it down in a line. A short, tactile memory can serve as proof against doubt. Later you may read these lines and remember that the Maker tended to small moments as well as large ones. The page becomes a witness to the steady care that has been given. I lower the voice a fraction as the hour moves towards sleep. If eyes close, let the images continue behind lids. If you keep the eyes open, look to a small light and let it hold the gaze softly. The mind does not need a battle to accept belonging. It only needs patience and small repetition. Tonight, accept a simple covenant with creation. Allow one small promise to the self in the morning. Notice one natural detail. It can be the way light lands on a leaf, the sound of a car, a cloud's shape. Let that noticing be an act of gratitude, not duty. Gratitude does not require jubilation. It requires attention. As I finish, I offer a short blessing drawn from the Psalm spirit. May the hills remind you that help is near. May the wide sky teach the heart patience. May the Maker who formed the heavens fold you into rest as gently as a hand settles a child's head on a pillow. Now breathe, once slow and whole. Feel the room breathe with you. Let the image of hills and sky keep a quiet company through the night. The presence is near. The work of sleep is invited. Rest into the unity that comes when small hearts. Remember they are part of a wide, caring creation. I close the book softly. The lamp becomes a softer glow. The night holds us. Sleep into that gentle keeping. The lamp hums low. The room keeps a hush. I sit with the book closed and the soft page of the night ahead. Tonight I turn to a short, steady promise. It says that when faults are named, there is a faithful hand that meets them. The hand forgives. The hand cleanses. I do not recite the verse in full. I hold its gentle meaning and offer it as a shelter. Settle into the posture that helps. Lie back or sit with the spine supported. Let the shoulders fall a degree. Place one hand on the chest. Let the other rest where it likes. Keep the jaw soft. Breathe slowly. The breath becomes a small metronome. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Count lightly if it helps. The rhythm steadies the room. This moment asks for a single, small naming, not a list, not a long account. Only one thing, a single word or a two-word phrase will do. A short line hanger, a careless word, a withheld kindness, a private bitterness. Let the mind pass over the day and wait for the first thing that comes to the surface. Choose that one thing and hold it gently in the mind. If it helps, imagine the named thing as a small pebble. It fits in the palm. It has a scent of its own and a weight that you can feel. The pebble sits on the bench of the heart. No need to explain it. No need to make it logical. The act of naming puts the pebble in a place where it can be seen. Now I guide a short breathing step. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. Let the out-breath be a slow release. With each exhale, imagine the fingers loosening on the pebble. The body practices letting go before the mind is ready to forget. That small practice is real. I bring the promise near. In plain words, when a fault is confessed, the faithful and steady hand meets it. That hand does not heap shame. It offers a cleaning. Think of the cleaning as water poured, not to erase memory, but to wash what clings to the surface. The image is of a gentle stream over a held hand. Dirt loosens. The skin is not harmed. The pebble does not vanish. Its edge is softened. If it feels right, write the single word on a scrap of paper. Keep the letters simple. Fold the paper once. Do not craft a long essay. The folded scrap is a bridge from head into world. Place it for a moment on the bedside table. The action is small and kind. It moves the burden from a restless loop inside the mind to a single, contained shape. Now imagine water. It comes warm, not scalding. A basin sits near the bed. The hand that receives the confession is gentle. Dip the palm into the basin. Let the water pass through the fingers. Watch the color shift. The stain that seems so marked is pulled loose and floats away. The water carries a soft brightness. The pebble feels lighter in the hand. Repeat the breath. In through the nose for 4. Hold 2. Out through the mouth for 6. With each out-breath picture, one small place on the chest rinsed by the water, the pattern is slow and steady. The motion does not rush the past. It simply makes space for rest. Confession here is not a public listing. It is an honest step toward healing. It is the choice to stop rehearsing the mistake and to place it into a larger care. The promise I hold to you is not a weighty doctrine. It is an assurance that mercy is present and practical. The hand that meets the confessed thing is faithful. It keeps its word. It cleanses without spectacle. If guilt rises after the imagining, do not judge it. Watch it like a bird at the window. Name it briefly guilt, then return to the water and let the bird pass. The practice is repetition, not force. Each return trains the heart to expect gentleness. There may be scars that the water does not remove. Some marks remain as memory. The cleansing does not deny that it changes how those marks sit in the life. They no longer throb with fresh heat. They are edged into a quieter shape. Think of an old cloth washed and mended. The seam is visible, but the fabric is whole and usable again. If everything felt right, take the folded scrap now and tuck it into a small box. Adraver, or under the journal, or imagine placing it on a leaf that floats on a slow stream. Watch the leaf carry the paper a short distance. It does not mean forgetting. It means the burden no longer rides the chest like a stubborn stone. It has found a place where the current can move it. I offer a short, silent prayer now. Keep it wordless, if that is better. Let the breath itself be the prayer. Breathe in trust. Breathe out release. If words are used, let them be simple, a naming of the one thing, and a handing over. The prayer is private and plain. It needs no flourish. Remember the promise once more in the hush. Faithfulness meets the confession, and a cleansing follows. Receive that as a present fact. The mind does not have to produce arguments. The body can accept a soft settling. Let the chest find a slower rhythm. Let the shoulders lower by a small degree. Feel the difference between carrying and placing. If sleep is not yet near, sit a while with a sense of washed hands. Imagine a towel laid across the lap. The towel smells faintly of soap and sunlight. Press the hands into the towel and feel dry skin. The action is tactile. It helps the nervous system understand that change has occurred. The small ceremony moves the inner weather. A short invitation for tomorrow in the morning. If it feels right, open the journal and write one line about the small change, not a full story. One sentence, I let this go for tonight. Uri felt a small glancing. Keep the record as a witness, not as a proof. Over time, those small lines form a gentle ledger of how mercy works in ordinary life. Do not mistake this practice for a way to avoid responsibility. It is not an excuse. It is a place to rest while the work continues. True repair often follows rest. Freshness returns after sleep. The choice to place a burden in faithful hands tonight makes the next day more likely to carry small, workable steps, if shame or doubt returns in the dark. Return the breath and the image of the basin. Repeat the small exercises without harshness. The faithful hand keeps meeting the same confession more than once. That repetition is not failure. It is the pattern of mercy, steady, patient, recurring. Before the voice falls to near silence, place the journal closed on the nightstand. Slide the pen beneath the cover. Keep the lamp low. If a scrap of paper sits in a box, let it stay. If the imagined leaf is floating, let the current do its work. The room is quiet. The night is a partner, intending. I end this moment with a short blessing, offered softly. May the simple naming wash the place that aches. May the faithful hand be real to the senses. May the mind find rest while the deeper work of change grows slowly. Sleep without guilt. Let the mercy that meets confession become the mattress your care can lie upon. Close the eyes when ready. Breathe soft. The washing continues in the hush. The heart rests in the faithful promise. Night keeps its gentle watch. I lower my voice a fraction. The lamp breathes steady light. The room inhales with me. Tonight I turn to a quiet kindness in the text. It is about a helper sent to be near. The helper comes not with noise, but with a gentle whisper. The presence teaches and reminds. It comes to make small things clearer. Settle into the posture that serves you. Lie back, or sit with the shoulders supported. Let the hands rest where they naturally fall. If the eyes close, that is welcome. If they stay open, let them soften to the dim. Breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let the long exhale be the evening's pace. I tell you this, as one who reads before sleep. I bring the scriptures as soft light, not as a fierce lamp. The passage I keep in mind says that the Spirit will come to teach and to remind. I do not read it like a rule. I hold it like an invitation. The Spirit's voice is small. It slips past alarm and pride. It finds the quiet places. Imagine a small room in which someone moves with a soft foot. They do not ask for attention. They rearrange little things. They place a cup where it will be reached in the dark. They set a blanket closer. That is how the Spirit often works. Not to thunder, but to tidy what might keep sleep away. Notice the way sound changes at night. The house makes careful noises. È refrigerata hums. A distant car sees. Those little sounds frame the whisper rather than drown it. In that hush, a thought may appear that does not feel forced. It might be gentle advice, a memory warmed in a kind way, or a small clarity about what to do tomorrow. If a worry sits close tonight, try a tiny experiment. Breathe in slowly. Name the worry in a single word. Let the word rest on the tongue for a heartbeat. Then breathe out and wait. In the pause after the exhale, listen like someone who expects a quiet tap at the window. The first whisper may be a soft reassurance. It may be a small direction. It may be simply a calming presence saying, "You are not alone." This listening is not complicated. It is not a test of cleverness. It is a posture of gentle attention. Imagine leaning your ear to a small bell. The bell does not ring loudly. It gives a single clear tone. Learn to catch that tone. Let it guide the next small step. I invite a short practice with the journal. Keep the pen within reach. Write 3 words tonight. But do it slowly. First, write 1 word that names what you feel now. Second, write 1 small thing you wish for. A modest hope. Third, listen in the quiet for a whisper, no more than a few words that feels like guidance or comfort. Write that whispered word or phrase under the hope. Do not judge it. Record it as one would note a memory. If the whispered phrase sounds ordinary, go to bed early. Call a neighbor. Forgive a small thing. Accept it. The Spirit's nudges often meet life where it is most practical. A simple adjustment can shift the course of a day. A small mercy accepted at bedtime can become a habit by morning. Picture the whisper as a breeze moving through an open window. The breeze does not force the curtains far. It nudges them just enough to let in a slice of night air. That slice cools the forehead. It changes the room's shape by a degree. The Spirit's guidance often works like that soft, small, enough. There will be nights when the whisper is not clear. There will be nights when the mind stays loud. If that happens, do not despair. The practice of listening is patient. Keep the journal nearby. Keep the breath measured. Return to the little habit of naming, hoping, and noting. Each time you do this, the ear grows more trained to the tone of divine gentleness. A tiny tactile cue helps. Choose a small object. Tonight, a smooth pebble, a piece of ribbon, a shell. Hold it in the palm while you breathe. When a quiet thought comes, touch the object and let the touch mark the moment. Later, when worry returns in the dark, touching the same stone can steady the mind and recall the whispered direction. The Spirit also teaches through memory, a remembered kindness, a word that once steadied you, a line from the Bible that warmed the chest. These memories can be the Spirit's way of reminding. When they arise, let them be small anchors. Repeat them quietly. Let the repetition soften the tremor of anxiety. I read scripture aloud now, shaped to listen rather than to argue. I paraphrase the thought the helper comes to teach and to remind what has been given. Hear it not as a demand but as a promise of close guidance. The line sits beside the breath. Allow it to rest there. Hold this image, a teacher at a bedside. Not lecturing but sitting. They do not push or shame. They point quietly to what matters. They speak softly, and their words fall like small stones into still water, sending slow ripples that reach far corners. The Spirit's words often behave in the same way. They make small waves that eventually change the shore. If your heart resists the idea of listening, if fear says it is dangerous to trust any soft prompting answer without debate, take one tiny step. Pick a small suggestion that feels safe. Try it tomorrow. A single small test can be enough. The Spirit's guidance rarely asks for dramatic leaps. It tends to ask for manageable choices. There is also mercy in imperfect hearing. Sometimes the whisper will be mistaken. A gentle misstep is not catastrophe. The Spirit's work is not undone by human error. Return to the pattern. Breathe. Rename what went wrong in one kind sentence. Place the sentence in the journal. Close the page. The practice repeats until it becomes a rhythm. I offer a brief breathing exercise to tune the ear. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for a single beat. Exhale for 6 counts. After 3 repetitions, wait in the stillness for 10 seconds. In that silence, notice any small thought that rises without force. If nothing arises, be content. The silence itself trains the nervous system to calm. Night is a good teacher for practicing this listening without the day's clamor. Subtler things can be noticed. Make tonight a safe space to practice. Do not aim for revelation. Aim for a posture. Aim for one quiet moment of attention. Let that moment be enough. If a remembered whisper gives a small instruction, stay present. Rest now. Speak kindly. Act on it if you can do so gently. The act need not be grand. It can be a delayed email, a soft apology, or a 5-minute walk at noon. Small obedience trains trust. Before sleep, fold the page of your journal over the line that notes the whisper. Tuck the pen beneath the cover. Let the paper wait. The act of preservation keeps the whisper from evaporating. It gives it a small life into the dawn. I will speak a brief blessing now. Quiet and exact. May you hear the small voice that teaches and reminds. May it come as a gentle guide and an honest friend. May the whispers keep your steps soft and your choices small and faithful. Rest into that gentle guidance. If sleep comes, let it be welcome. If wakefulness returns, let the breath be your companion and the journal your anchor. The spirit is patient. The practice is patient too. Return tomorrow to the small work of listening. I close with a soft pause. The light dims. The room keeps its slow breath. Let the whisper be a lamp beside the bed. Let it guide one small step. Sleep into the hush, and wake to a kindly direction. Good night. Shuwu, a father's love. I sit with the lamp low. The night breathes slow. Tonight, I tell a small, true story from my family. It is not loud. It is gentle and near. My brother has hands that once built things. He learns with his fingers. A few years back, an illness made his hands unsure. Tasks that used to feel easy became heavy. The world of tools and measure felt foreign. Pride tightened the jaw. Sleep thinned into a string of wakes. One evening I come to his bed. The light is soft in the room. A thick blanket covers the knees. We follow the same ritual we do for many people we love. A journal sits within reach. The pen waits. The breath slow cycles the room. I read a short passage that speaks of fatherly care. I do not quote it loudly. I let the meaning land in the space between us. After the reading, my brother names a small fear. The fear is not dramatic. It is quiet, a worry about being a burden. He writes one short line in his journal. The letters are steady. The sentence is simple. The act of writing makes the worry less like thunder and more like a pebble. I tell him a memory. I speak softly. Though not as a sermon, I say that when we were small, our father used to mend torn sleeves by the kitchen light. He did not hurry. He held the needle with a calm hand. The stitches were imperfect, but he kept the cloth usable. He taught that fixing is often slow, He taught that presence matters more than finished work. My brother hears the story differently now. The memory works like a translation. The old stitching becomes a lens through which he sees God's care. The fatherly love in the tale is not a foreign idea. It is a practical way of being held while hands learn anew. That idea sits beside the sick hand like a small cushion. We practice a small ritual. I ask him to imagine his hands on his lap. He does. I ask him to place the palm of one hand on the chest, as if feeling a familiar heartbeat. He does. We breathe together. The breaths align. In through the nose. Long. Slow release. The breath becomes a steady metronome. The rhythm makes the presence less abstract. Then I read a verse about fatherly compassion. I read it slowly and with measured pauses. The words function as balm. They remind without arguing. They do not insist on a tidy theology. They simply name tenderness. After each short line, we pause long enough for the breath to catch up. The room grows quieter. Later, my brother tells of a neighbor who comes by with soup and humor. The neighbor does not lecture. The neighbor brings a plate and then steps aside. The neighbor's acts appear small, but they change the field of living. Meals arrive warm. A chair is moved closer to a window. The presence of an ordinary person becomes almost sacramental. A single morning marks a small turning. My brother prepares a cup of tea. His hands are careful and slow. He forgets a small step and then remembers. Instead of anger, he allows a small smile. He notices how the steam makes the room smell like safety. That tiny change is larger than it seems. It is the Father's love in habit. I describe this not as a heroic conversion. It is a sequence of small adjustments. The fatherly love shows up as steady help, not a dramatic rescue. It arrives as neighborliness, as a shared quiet, and as an inner permission to be small. These things lessen the weight that once made sleep impossible. We write a short line in the journal together. One sentence notes, a mercy, a neighbor's quiet visit. Another notes, a hope, a night of restful sleep. The writings are simple. They are anchors. They make the mercy tangible in morning light. At night, before the lamp is dim, I read again. I choose lines that speak of being known and kept. The words do not explain every sorrow. They hold what is present. They repeat the truth that a father's love is steady and practical. The reading is not loud. It is a soft hand on a back. I end the night with a small prayer. The prayer is not rhetorical. It asks for one small kindness to remain patient. I do not demand miracles. I ask for a stitch to hold, a cup to be warm, a friend to stop by. These small petitions are what the body needs to sleep. My brother sleeps better in the weeks that follow. His hands do not become the same overnight. They keep learning. But the sharpness of fear lessens. The story of a mending father stays near his bedside. He uses it as a guide when the mind starts to insist on perfection. The presence of fatherly love gives him permission to be tender with himself. That permission shapes ordinary days. When he irons a shirt, he does it with less haste. When a tool slips, he smiles at the small mistake and cleans the part. The way of living becomes quieter The heart learns that being cherished matters more than a flawless output. I share this anecdote at the bedside because such simple stories rest us. They teach us that God's fatherly love often arrives through small people and steady habits. It is not always thunderous. It is often a quiet room, a neighbor's soup, a remembered hand that knew how to mend. The night ends with a settled breath. The journal rests closed. The lamp dims. The fatherly love stays near, like a warm cloak. Sleep comes without the need to be perfect. Shaliu, power. The room keeps its hush. The lamp breathes soft. I move now to a short thought about power. I mean the kind of power that helps a tired life carry on. I do not speak of spectacle. I speak of quiet ability. Power can sound loud. It can mean force. Here I speak of a gentle power. It is the power to bear, to mend, and to steady. It is a power that moves in small measures. It often comes unseen. I begin with a scene. A woman I know rises before dawn to care for a child who wakes sometimes in cold sweat. She moves without fanfare. Her steps are practiced. She knows where the clothes lie, where the thermometer sits, and how to make warm milk. The power she holds is practical. It is trained by repetition. It is mercy worked into muscle memory. That practical power has a source. For her, the source shows as a steady presence. She believes in a power that does not need to impress. It arrives as patience and a renewed capacity when fatigue threatens. The power is not dramatic. It is an available help that shows up when the need is small and repeated. I read a short passage that speaks of strength for the weary. I shape the lines for listening. The words do not promise sudden invincibility. They promise renewal. They suggest that hope yields energy over time. The meaning settles like a slow current. Power, in this sense, is like a river under ice. The surface can seem still, but beneath, the water moves. Steady and sure, the motion keeps the life of fish and reeds. The same hidden movement supports the visible world. The power I speak of is often hidden. It acts by keeping going. We practice one small exercise. To receive this power, breathe in deeply and count to 4. Hold 1 beat. Release long for 6 counts. Repeat 3 times. Then imagine a slow current beneath the body. It flows under the feet, up the legs, and through the chest. The current brings a small warmth. It is not hot. It is enough. Power also looks like gentleness that persists. A neighbor who continues to visit each week is an expression of quiet power. The friend's small acts mending a hem, bringing bread-built resilience over time. The pattern of repetition matters. The same acts handed out again and again make a reliable architecture for life. This power of persistence does not coerce. It invites. It is a steady net that catches slips. It helps someone stand again without shaming. The power works at a human scale. It meets the body where it is. I suggest a practical way to welcome such power. Choose one small act tonight that can be repeated for a week. It might be a 5-minute walk at dawn, a brief call to one friend, or folding an extra blanket before bed. Keep it tiny. The aim is habit. The habit is the birthplace of power. Faith, often reframes the source of power. It moves the question from, "Can I do this?" to, "Who is with me when I do?" The presence of Christ. As I read, offers a companion that supports ordinary tasks. The companion's help is not showy. It is a steadying hand that steadies the wrist and quiets the mind. Power in the spiritual life is often a slow enlargement of capacity. It does not insist on sudden heroism. It grows when the heart practices trust in small things. Each trust becomes a muscle. The muscle responds. Strength increases in the places that are most used. Think of a candle lit on a long table. One small flame does not banish the room, but it gives enough light to toast bread. Gie aknot, or read a short note. The light is modest, but it is useful. The power I describe is like that candle. It serves particular needs reliably. If fatigue presses tonight, try this simple step. Place a hand on the chest. Breathe slowly. Whisper a single phrase small enough, steady enough. Repeat it 3 times. The phrase is not magic. It trains attention. It invites the mind to accept the aid that is present and to wait for renewal. Power is not only for doing, it is for being. The grace to be patient, the strength to stay present at a bedside, the calm to answer a late call. These are forms of power. They often feel less satisfying than grand achievements. Yet they change days and nights, more than dramatic acts. I read a small line about strength renewed for those who wait. I read it as a quiet promise. I do not preach strain. I suggest rest as one method of growing power. Sleep repair muscles. Quiet restores nerves. The body's ability to act grows when rest is honored. When life feels too heavy, recall a story of small power. Remember a neighbor tying shoes for a child, a friend mending a fence, a parent sitting up through fever. These memories are not heroic myths. They are evidence that the simple power of kindness keeps the world functioning. Before I close, choose one tiny practice to cultivate power tomorrow. Maybe set out a pair of shoes by the door. Maybe place a cup in the kettle. Maybe write one line in the journal. The practice trains a small readiness. Over team, the readiness becomes capacity. I end with a short reading that frames power as a quiet gift. It is given when needed. It is steady and available. Hear it as a calm fact. Let it settle on the chest like a warm stone. The lamp dims. The room keeps its slow breath. Rest into the reality that power comes in small measures and steady patterns. Sleep into that thought. Let the gentle strength of presence hold the night. The lamp breathes a steady circle of light. I keep my voice slow. The house holds a hush. Tonight, I turn to a small, plain promise about prayer. I bring it as a comfort, not a test. I read from James in a way that fits our quiet. The sense of the line is this: when a person who seeks to live rightly prays, that prayer is powerful. It does not always look dramatic. It often looks simple. The promise speaks of effect and of mercy that moves. Hear this as an invitation. Prayer is not a performance. It is a posture. It is the act of offering what is real and small into a larger care. When a person prays honestly, with the life they have, the prayer carries weight. The words are not what save the moment. The trust behind the words gives them strength. I like to imagine prayer as a small river. The river is not always wide. It is sometimes narrow and shallow, yet it moves steadily. The current gathers leaves and small pebbles. Over time, the river shapes the bank. A single drop does not change everything. A steady stream does. Prayer often works the same way, slowly, persistently, peacefully. If you would try a gentle practice tonight, take the journal in your lap, turn to a blank page, write one short prayer, keep it to one sentence. A single line is enough. Make it direct and specific. It might be for sleep, for healing, for a softened heart, for help with a small decision. The act of writing makes the prayer tangible. It moves the thought from the busy mind into a quiet, held place. Fold the page once. Hold it in both hands for a breath. Feel the warmth there. Breathe in slowly. Hold for a beat. Let the out-breath be long and even. Imagine handing the folded line into a steady hand. The image need not be ornate. Think of it like placing a note into a trusted friend's palm. The motion is a small act of entrusting. Prayer grows more expectant when it is honest and when it is patient. Expectation here is not a demand. It is a gentle readiness. It is the posture of someone who believes that small things can change. Expectant prayer waits without frantic pushing. It listens for quiet answers and for ordinary help that arrives in manageable ways. There is a quiet power in a righteous life that prays. Righteousness in this sense means a life that is turning toward mercy and away from harm. It is the habit of trying to live with simple goodness. It does not mean being without fault. It means the direction of the heart is toward what heals. When someone who lives that way prays, their requests are not merely wishes. They are shaped by a life of small, steady choices. The prayer carries the weight of habit, of attention, of compassion. I often encourage people to pray for one another. Prayer that goes between two people is a domestic kind of power. A neighbor who prays for an anxious friend does more than hope. They add a living pattern of care. It is nothing spectacular. It is ordinary. Yet ordinary patterns have surprising effect. A short, regular prayer for another tends to change the one who prays. The heart grows less quick to worry. The one prayed for, even if they do not know, becomes surrounded in a quiet way. Let me offer a small, usable method. Name one person to pray for tonight. Keep the name very short, one word if possible. Place that name at the top of the page. Below it, write one simple request for them. Keep it small for rest, for patience, for clarity, for a safe moment. Do not write a biography. Simply name the need, then fold the page and set it beside the lamp. The next night, add one line to the same page. Over time, you will have a small ledger of care. You may later look back and see small answers that did not look like miracles but like steady mercies. Expectant prayer is also humble. It acknowledges the limits of one night and of one mind. It trusts that small steps matter When I read James, I imagine a line of people passing tiny lamps along a dark street. Each lamp is carried by a person trying to live kindly. The light moves from hand to hand. It reaches a house where somebody is afraid. The light itself does not do everything, but it shows the next step and warms the room enough to breathe. Prayer that is earnest is not loud. Earnestness can be a slow knocking at a familiar door. It is the kind of asking that returns when needed. It does not keep score. It keeps showing up. A practice I recommend is to pray the same short line when sleep feels far off. Repeat it quietly, like a lullaby. The repetition is not rote. It is a rhythm that the heart can learn to rest with. Confession and prayer often walk together. When something weighs a conscience, bring it into the light in a quiet line. Name the small wrong. Offer it into the same steady hand you entrust joys to. The act of naming and offering can loosen the tight places in the body. The practice is not about self-flagellation. It is about freeing the chest to let breath return. There are times when prayer seems to do nothing. I will not pretend otherwise, but often the effect is delayed and slow. A softened heart appears weeks later. A relationship eases. A morning arrives with a different weight. Keep a small patience with the practice. Notice small changes and mark them. A short note in the journal about an answered prayer, however modest, trains the eye to see patterns of care. Those patterns build faith, like a path laid brick by brick. I want to tell a small story. A neighbor I knew had a daughter who slept poorly. The neighbor began to pray each night for that child in a single, short sentence. Nothing dramatic happened at first. The child still woke. The neighbor still worried. But the neighbor's tone in conversation softened. The late-night visits were fewer. A restful order settled into the household, not because a miraculous cure arrived, but because the one who prayed moved in tiny ways, offering extra tea, checking the room for comfort, letting the child sense a calm steadiness. Eventually the sleep became deeper. The prayer had not been idle. It changed the one who prayed and the one who received care. If it helps, try a tactile cue. Hold a small pebble when you pray. Let the pebble be the place where you rest the words. When worry returns in the night, touch the pebble once and repeat the short line you wrote. The pebble anchors the practice to the body. The motion is small and private, and often that smallness makes the mind willing to let go. I will paraphrase the heart of James now, not as a quotation, but as a simple thought to carry into rest when a person lives with a bent toward mercy and prays with sincerity. That prayer holds power to change and to heal. I read it softly. I let the meaning sit on the chest like a small hand. Before we close this part of the night, choose one small prayer to keep by the bed. Make it one clear sentence. Fold it, place it beneath the journal, or tuck it under the lamp. If it feels right, say it aloud, once in the room. Then breathe with it. Let the breath be the bridge between request and rest. Pray earnestly. Pray expectantly. Do not demand grand signs. Expect small mercies. Expect steady help. Trust that the pattern of faithful living gives your words a weight that matters. The life of prayer is less a sprint than a long quiet walk with someone who listens. I pause now and offer a short, soft invitation. If a name comes to mind, place it on the page. If a worry rises, fold it into one line. Hand it over in your imagination. Let the act of entrusting be real for the body as well as the mind. Breathe slowly. Hold the stillness for a few breaths. When the folded line rests beside the lamp, the room grows quieter. The breath lengthens. The habit of prayer begins to do its work. You are not alone in your asking. The promise I read is not a test. It is a steady truth. Prayer from a heart leaning toward mercy is a real thing with real power. I will read one small line from the scriptures now, shaped into plain speech, to hold as a close truth. The prayer of a person seeking rightness has power and brings about change. Hear it as a comfort. Let it be a soft fact on the pillow. Let that fact ease the chest and steady the breath. We keep the journal closed for a moment. The pen rests under its cover. The folded line waits. The room keeps its hush. Rest now into the practice you have begun. Sleep with the expectation that small prayers are heard, and that steady mercy moves in gentle acts. Tomorrow, the ledger will be there to show small answers. For tonight, let the prayer do its work in silence. Soon, I will offer a blessing to close the hour. For now, breathe once more. Slow and even. Place the heart where it can be cared for. Let prayer be a small river through the night. The house listens. The night keeps watch. I sit very still. The lamp breathes a small circle of light. The room is quiet in the way it becomes when day has finished its asking. My voice stays low. The words come slow. I have read with you tonight. We have named small fears. We have placed a few hopes in the journal. We have let the breath guide our hands. Now, I offer a blessing. It is an old one. It is simple and steady. I bring it not as law, but as a soft promise for the night. Close your eyes if that helps. Rest a hand on your chest. Feel the pulse. Feel the cool of the sheet. Breathe in gently. Hold the breath a moment. Release long and even. Let your shoulders fall a fraction. Let the jaw loosen. I speak the blessing slowly so the words can land where the body hears them most. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Picture a watchful presence that does not hurry. Imagine a hand that steadies the back of the neck, and a shelter that keeps out the sharp wind. The blessing asks for a keeping that is practical. It keeps the feet warm and the mind less fierce. It is a guard that does not nag. It is a care that remains while you sleep. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Think of light moving across a quiet room. It does not glare. It settles like warm water on the skin. This light is kinder than a bright demand. It looks with favor, not with a ruler. Grace comes as small kindnesses. It comes in a neighbor's soup, in a remembered word, in a quiet forgiveness that appears without ceremony. Let the image of that gentle light touch the places where you feel thin. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Imagine someone who meets your tired eye and does not turn away. The look is steady and soft. Peace is the gift that follows that look. The peace, I mean, is not an empty silence. It is a fullness that fills the hollow places. It is the feel of a blanket drawn over shoulders. It is the evening that holds you, while the heavy parts of the day unbind. I say these lines as one who reads Scripture at night. I do not make them a test. I offer them like a warm cup. Let the blessing be a small canopy above the bed. Let it be a shelter not only for the head, but for the parts that ache in secret. If the mind resists, do not force it. Breathe slowly and repeat a single phrase in your mind. You may choose one phrase from the blessing. Keep it to a breath. You are kept. Or, light for the dark. Or, simply peace. Repeat it quietly with each exhale. Do not argue with the mind. Let the phrase work like a soft knot loosening in the body. I will make the blessing a little more concrete. Now, I ask for keeping over your body. May the rest you need come down like soft rain. Let muscles loosen. Let the spine find a small length. Let the nerves accept a slower rhythm. Breathe in safety. Breathe out tension. Ask for keeping over your mind. May intrusive thoughts find a place to rest that is not the racing center of the night. May small worries be given room to be seen without being the whole story. If a memory presses hard, set it on the bedside table of the imagination. Allow the night to do its slow work of rearranging what is heavy. Ask for keeping over your heart. May tenderness meet what is raw. May a steady tenderness keep watch, without scolding. Let the heart receive small mercies. Let hope reach the places that feel closed. I mention Christ here as a companion for the night. Imagine him not as a distant idea, but as a presence that walks beside your bedside. He does not demand perfection. He sits with quiet hands. He knows the small language of wounds. His presence is not dramatic. It is the patience of someone who remembers every small sorrow and keeps vigil anyway. If it fits, rest in that image. If different words fit better, hold those instead. The aim is the same mercy that makes sleeping possible. I will wrap a short prayer around the blessing. The prayer is brief. It is not a lecture. It says, Lord, keep these people who listen. Hold them through the hours. Make your face a gentle light. Lift your look and give rest. Let peace find them like a tide. Amen. The word Amen is quiet. It is the sound of permission to let the day go. There is a practical step I suggest before I finish. Tuck the journal beneath the pillow, or close it gently on the nightstand. Slide the pen under the cover. This small action marks the end of the working day. It is a tiny covenant between hands and rest. The paper will wait. The thoughts will wait. For tonight. The weight is placed where it can be tended tomorrow, if wakefulness returns. Return to the blessing slowly. Breathe on one phrase. Feel the skin under a hand. Name one small hope for morning. Keep the breath slow and steady. Use the lamp of the mind that the blessing provides. Let it keep the dark from swallowing everything. I offer one brief invitation for how to carry this blessing into sleep. Imagine light in the chest like a small lantern. Picture it steady across the ribs. With each in-breath, the lantern glows a bit warmer. With each out-breath, it releases a small plume of smoke. Worry that drifts away. Let the lantern remain. It need not be bright. It need only be reliable. You might hear me read these lines again tomorrow night, if you like. Keep a ribbon or a pebble by the bedside. When anxiety comes, touch the ribbon or the pebble and recall the blessing. The token is not magic. It is a tactile cue that helps the body remember a posture of care. Before I close this part, I hold the blessing over you once more in stillness. I do not speak to fill the air. I let a few moments pass so the words can rest. May you be kept. May light rest on you. May peace hold you. I say it slowly. The room keeps its hush. The breath between us is steady. The blessing sits on the chest like a small garment. When you are ready, let your eyes close. Let the head sink into the pillow without hurry. Trust the quiet. Trust the presence that holds. Trust the slow mercy of the night. I pause anew. In the next and final part, I will offer a brief closing reflection. I will gather the threads we have kept tonight. I will leave one last, gentle charge for waking. For now, sleep into the blessing. Let the night do its work. The room keeps watch. The breath keeps time. Rest. I come back to the bedside one last time. The lamp is low. The house inhales and lets go. My voice moves slow. The sentences stay short. This is the place where we gather the small things we have kept tonight. We have walked many small paths together. We learned to name one thank you. We learned to set one burden down on a page. We practiced a single hope. We tested a simple handing over of worry. Each small act matters. Each one is a stitch in the quiet garment we wear into sleep. Now I read a passage that has folded itself into many nights. I read it plainly and slowly, so the ear can hold it. The lines are from Psalm 23, verses 1 through 3. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Hear the words as a calm fact. Let the image come like a soft picture. Do not feel the need to analyze. Let the shepherd be a presence that moves beside the weary. Picture green fields that welcome tired feet. Picture water that is still enough to let the reflection calm the eye. Place a hand on the chest. Now, feel the small beat beneath. The pulse is a measure of care already at work. When the verse says the shepherd restores the soul, imagine that restoration is a small tending. It is not an urgent overhaul. It is a quiet mending. A seam is stitched. A stray thread is tucked in. Something becomes less raw. Think of the shepherd's leading. It is not a sudden command. It is a gentle guidance. Tonight, let that image act like a map for the morning. Make one small plan to follow tomorrow. It may be only a step. Make the bed. Drink a warm cup. Send a brief note to a friend. The shepherd's lead can be as practical as a cup on the counter. Remember the green pastures in a particular way. Choose one small blessing from the day. Keep it on the tongue of thought. It might be the taste of a hot drink, a short laugh, a clear moment of work finished, a hand held, or an email that felt human. Say the chosen blessing slowly in heart. Let it warm the chest like a small ember. Then notice the still water's image. Still water invites reflection. Take one quiet breath and look inward. What relieved you even a little today? What kindness arrived unexpectedly? What small repair happened inside the chest? Do not hunt for grand signs. Let the stillness show the small things that stand steady under the surge. I offer a short invitation for the journal tonight. If the pen is near, open the page to the place you have been using. Write 3 things in a line each. Slowly. 1. A name for the single blessing to keep. 2. The burden you place down for tonight. 3. One small step you will try in the morning. Keep each line short. Folding the paper makes the acts real. Close the book with a soft hand. The Psalms promise to restore the soul can be carried into action. Restoration often begins with sleep. Sleep is not passive. It is work the body does well. Giving the night permission to mend is a practical obedience. Lay the head down and let the body do its essential labor. We have spoken of confession. We have spoken of forgiveness. We have named that mercy works slowly. Keep that in the mind as you move toward dawn. Do not expect a sudden sun to erase all marks. Expect small light. Expect one more compassionate morning. Let that expectation be enough for tonight. There is a gentle charge I place in the last minutes before sleep. When morning comes, share one small piece with another person. This is not a performance. It is a tiny passing of what you have received. It could be a brief note, a hand-set cup, a short text that says, "I thought of you." The act of passing on peace teaches the heart to receive more. Giving a small kindness trains the world to be kinder. Consider how the stories you keep can become gifts. A memory of a father mending a sleeve, a neighbor bringing soup, a quiet litany that steadies prayer. These are not only for private comfort. They can be offered as examples when someone else needs steadiness. Tell one short story in simple words tomorrow. Make it a small offering of hope. Community forms in tiny move. When a person shares a restful practice, others learn a new muscle. When a person models naming a single burden and placing it down, someone else may try it. The lives we lead in small ways are the ways mercy circulates. Tonight, think of one person who might welcome a small note about the calm you found. If it feels right, send it in the morning. I remind again, this place is gentle. There is no pressure to explain. There is no demand to fix. The aim is rest, repère, and a readiness for the morning. Let the Psalms' shepherding be a picture that steadies those aims. Keep the pages, the breath, and the small habits close by the pillow. Breathe again with me. In through the nose for 4. Hold 2. Out through the mouth for 6. Let the out-breath be longer. Let each exhale carry away a fraction of striving. The rhythm is a handrail. Use it when wakefulness returns in the night. Do not argue with the mind. Return to this counted breath. If a worry wakes the hours later, reach for the journal, for the ribbon, for the pebble. These are the small anchors we have used. Touch them. Say aloud, or in silence, the phrase, "You recorded the single blessing." The single burden, the single hope. Repetition is not boredom. It is a slow retraining of the nervous system to accept care. I will close with a few practical suggestions for morning. Prepare one small thing tonight that will welcome the new day. Set a cup on the counter. Put shoes by the door. Tuck one short note into a pocket. The morning will look different if the first step is gentle and chosen. Habit begins with such small acts. Also, gather one person to whom you will pass this quiet. It may be a neighbor, a friend, a face in a small group. Share with them the method you used tonight, a short gratitude, a named burden, one tiny hope, and the reading of Psalm 23. Do not script it. Offer it simply. Community grows out of repeated small offerings. Sharing teaches the heart to expect mercy not only for itself, but for others. Before I end, let the psalm rest again like a final lamp. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing that matters for the night. Green pastures and still waters are near at hand in the imagination. The soul is given space to mend. Carry that image into sleep. Close the journal if it is open. Tuck the pen beneath the cover. Place the folded slip of paper where the hand can find it if needed. Turn down the light. Feel the room hold you. I lay a gentle hand of blessing on the idea of morning. May the day that comes bring one small mercy that can be held. May the breath that rises with dawn be steady and mild. May the community of small kindnesses gather you into a web of care. Now rest. Let the shepherd's quiet lead you. Let the day's soft blessings sit on the chest like warm stones. Sleep comes as the body does its work. The night keeps watch. The psalm's simple lines remain a lamp beside the bed. When you wake, remember to pass a single piece. In that passing, hope grows, mercy spreads. The small world we tend becomes more gentle. Good night. I will meet you here again, by the light and the page. When the house breathes low once more,